What's going on, football fans? I ain't even doing the stand-up. I'm just so happy the season is finally over. I think we've been counting down this season all year, really since Daniel Jones went down. I think we knew that the season was completely over, and this New York Giants team just did everything in their power today to continue to just finish in embarrassing fashion. And I know that we're outmanned, we're outgunned. I get it. But there are several things we'll talk about on this stream that were absolutely embarrassing from a New York Giants standpoint. You know, everybody talked about how replacing Jason Garrett is going to electrify the offense. Didn't do it. And you can talk about Jake Fromm all you want. The play calling was pathetic. An end around to Alex Bachman, a screen pass to Kyle Rudolph. Kyle Rudolph, I think I run a faster 40 time than Kyle Rudolph. QB sneak on 3rd and 9 from your own 5-yard line. I think it's clearly apparent, at least to most Giant fans at this point. Obviously, some people are going to disagree with me, but I'm never going to be scared to share my opinion. I've had this opinion for the last 5-6 weeks, whether or not people want to believe it or not. It's time to blow this up. I'm not just talking about the general manager. We all know that the GM is going to be replaced. Dave Gettleman will absolutely retire tomorrow, should be fired. He's going to retire. It's time to blow it up. There is no point at this point in time for the New York Giants to have any half measures. There's just not. What does Joe Judge bring to the table for the next GM that's going to come in? This Giants team this year won 4 games. Not all his fault. I'll be the first to say that. I try to be as fair as I possibly can. What does he sell you on? He is the most conservative coach I have ever seen in my existence. And yes, I know there were variables. Yes, I know the offensive line is pathetic. Yes, I know we have a ton of injuries. I understand it. But it's not an excuse for him to be as conservative as he is. I see teams with a lot less, well, not a lot less, but teams with not a lot of talent that are a lot more aggressive than he is. He doesn't put faith in his players, and I don't have faith in Joe Judge, if I'm being as honest as I can be, or at least enough faith to feel like I have to keep him on for a 3rd year and fit a GM around him. I don't see the reason for it. Now, will the New York Giants do that? They might. I won't rule that out. They might. Mara's already talked about it and hinted at that he might stick with Joe Judge, and we'll see. I don't know if today's game is going to be enough. It shouldn't. He should have his mind made up before today's game. His team's completely banged up. I understand it, whatever. But to me, I'm not letting Joe Judge get in the way of my GM search. If there is any GM that's, or even a coach that's really good that wants to come in and take this job, see ya. Joe Judge is not showing enough for me to have any faith in him long-term as a coach. And Zach, man, I think I've been a member for 3 months, says Judge needs to go. Yeah, I'm on board. I've been on board for about 4 or 5 weeks. I don't see the reason to stick with Judge. And we'll get our answers in the offseason. If they stick with Judge as a fan and as fans, we got to live with it, and we got to understand that that's the path they want to go down. I understand that a lot of head coaches have been fired by the New York Giants, in recent history. They haven't given them more than 2 years, and I've been a guy that always expresses patience. But to me, my patience is wearing thin, and if you're going to fire a GM, do it the right way. Start completely over. It's not like this guy has any credentials. It's not like the guy's had any success as a head coach in the NFL. He's not inspiring anybody. Let's put it that way. So for me, start over. Bring in a new GM, bring in a new head coach. I don't see the reason. Tell me. Maybe somebody in the chat could tell me. What does Joe Judge do other than the fact that you don't want to fire a new head coach, another coach after 2 years? Outside of that, what does Joe Judge do that makes you believe he should be here for a 3rd year? I gave you a reason for Shermer, and people killed me for it. And I thought it was a legitimate reason, and the reason was Daniel Jones. There is no reason why Joe Judge should stay on for a 3rd year with this Giants team. I don't see the reasoning for it. Let me see here. Sports Critic, man, thank you very much. I agree. Fire Joe Judge. He brings nothing exciting to the table and hasn't improved any week. Again, the team is completely banged up. I understand it. You can't expect to win with this roster, but it's the things he does from within the game. Thomas says, not a lot of coaches and GMs will want to come here as it is, so we need to not limit ourselves even more. I guess maybe that's like the one argument that you could say is, maybe a good head coach won't want to take this job because of the situation that this franchise is currently in. Maybe you can make that argument, but to me, anybody's an improvement over this team, this coach at this point in time. And again, I'm not putting all the losses on him. I understand it. The team fought for him last year. I was encouraged with him, like a lot of fans were. What do you sell the fan base on next year? What do you sell the fan base on next year if you bring him back to be the head coach? I just don't see it. Silly says, such a Giants thing to be the worst team in the league, yet not have a top 3 pick. Well, we stayed where we were. We knew going in that the best we could be is the 5th pick. We'll talk about the draft order and everything else. But we knew going in the best pick that the Giants could have was the 5th pick, unless the Jets or the Texans won. The Texans lost. I don't think the Jets are going to beat the Bills. So I'm not expecting that. I think we're going to stay at 5. Now, the Bears pick, we got lucky there because the Vikings came back and won. The Bears pick, I think at worst will be 7, because when you look at the strength of schedule, actually, I think they're going to move up a spot, even if I forgot the team that is tied with them. But after their game, I think the Bears will be the 7th pick. And I think that's as high as they could go. So the way it looks, unless the Jets win, which I don't expect, I think it'll be 5 and 7 for the New York Giants in this year's draft, which is a pretty good place to be. Can't really complain about that if you're a Giants fan. Let me read this real quick from one of the members on the channel. Taco, thank you for being a member. Hey, Chris, sorry about the team. We deserve better. Judge should be fired. Also, thoughts on Judge press conference. I didn't hear the press conference. I just went live after the game, so I haven't heard the press conference. I'll have a video talking about his press conference tomorrow, though, when I get a chance to watch it and see all the quotes. Obviously, I'm going to have a video out on Gettleman tomorrow when he officially retires. But his press conference, I mean, last week, his press conference, I think, is what if he does lose his job. I think last week's press conference is going to be what does him in, but we'll see. But I haven't gotten a chance to watch the press conference. I'm sure he said more of the same. What can he say at this point, right? I mean, what can he say at this point to sell the fan base? I just don't see it. I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong. I try to be optimistic, but there's not much for me to be optimistic about with this team right now. Salazar says, with the Bears and Giants loss, where do we sit in there? Well, I just said it. I think we're 5 and 7. Let me pull up the Tankathon real quick. Right now in the NFL, the New York Giants sit at 4, but the Jets are more than likely going to lose. If the Jets do what I think they're going to do, the Giants will be at 5. The Bears pick, the tiebreaker is strength of schedule. So even if Seattle wins, Seattle's playing, I think, Arizona, so they're playing a good team. Right now, the strength of schedule is dead even. You have to think that strength of schedule goes up for Seattle, which means Chicago will be set at 7 no matter what. They can't jump Carolina due to the tiebreaker. So I think the Bears pick is cemented at 7, and the Giants pick is cemented at 5 unless the Jets win. So we're going to be at 5 and 7 going into the draft this year. That's the way it looks. And with those 2 picks, you get 2 really good players, and obviously the ability to potentially trade down. So that's the bit of good news that came out of this year, especially with that trade. We ended up getting a really good pick from the Chicago Bears. Albert says, Judge is the worst coach in the NFL. I mean, I'd have to look around the NFL, but he's got to be up there. I mean, again, not dealt the best of hands, but what does he do to inspire you as a fan base? Mr. Lopez says, blow the whole thing up, nobody's safe. If it was up to me right now, that's what I would do. If I was doing it with the Giants, I would start over. Nobody on this team is worth limiting my hiring potential for a general manager, whatever. I'd blow up the scouting department. I'd blow up everything. They need to improve this team. They need to bring in the best roster builder they possibly can. And in order to do that, I think they're going to need to clean house, and they're going to have to start over. And a lot of fans may not like hearing that. I understand it. It's the right thing to do, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. And I would give the new regime at least 3, if not 4 years together with a GM and a head coach. But this GM and head coach on different timelines and fitting a GM around Joe Judge, to me, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm not inspired by Joe Judge. This offense last year, like, people could talk about the injuries and how this team couldn't win. This offense last year was the worst offense in football, in which Daniel Jones played pretty much the majority of the year. And even this year, the offense wasn't that good. We've been 32 and 31, I think, the last 2 years in total offense. Like, whoa, I know we're limited in terms of talent, but Shermer had even less talent. And I know we've had injuries. I get it, but I'd blow it up. Jason says, give me Horowitz as GM. You're talking about the guy from the Ravens. A lot of people like him. And Harbaugh for head coach. Try to retain Carter on a friendly 2 to 3 year deal. Focus on the O-line and D-line in the draft. I'm completely with you on Carter. If it's, like you said, if it's a team-friendly deal, if it's nothing crazy, if he does get if his market is high, at least we get a comp pick for him. Maybe you get a 4th round or 5th round comp pick for him. So I'm with you on that, Jason. I mean, listen, if you get there's a lot of people on Twitter, and maybe it's because of his college resume, because they haven't beaten Ohio State, because they haven't beaten Michigan State that frequently. And I know Michigan fans were not happy with Harbaugh going into this year, and I don't think we're going to get Harbaugh. My guess would be we probably won't. But if you get Jim Harbaugh, I don't understand, me personally, why you don't think he'd be a significant upgrade over what we currently have. Jim Harbaugh went to 3 NFC championship games in 4 years in the NFL. And as much as you want to say that maybe he underachieved at Michigan, Michigan was 46 and 42. I think it was the 4 years before he got, whatever it was. They were 46 and 42 in their last almost 100 games before he got there. They're like 62 and 21. since he's been there, and they've had 4 10-win seasons since he's been there. They had 1 10-win season like the 8 years before he got there. So to me, he clearly improved Michigan's situation. He may not have improved it as much as people expected, but he clearly improved it, and he definitely significantly improved the 49ers situation. So if he was ever available, and again, I'm not predicting that. I'm not even, it's probably not a realistic possibility, but if he was, sign me the hell up. Sports critic, man, thank you very much, man. He says, I think we should fire Judge tomorrow so a new GM can bring in their coach. I don't think they will. I'm not saying they won't fire Judge. I don't know. I think it's kind of 50-50, like Jay Glazer said before the game started. I don't know if they're going to fire Joe Judge, but I don't think they're going to tell us he's staying tomorrow either. I think, like you said, they're going to do their GM search, and then they're going to let that GM, or at least I hope, let that GM make the decision. And I hope they don't fit a GM around Joe Judge. We will obviously hear about Dave Gettleman tomorrow. Dave Gettleman is going to step down. He's going to retire. We've heard those reports for months. He's going to step down. Reports came out today from the stadium that he wouldn't even talk to reporters. He wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible. My guess would be Gettleman's probably not even going to have a press conference tomorrow. They're probably just going to announce that he's going to retire, and that's going to be that. And then we move on and we start our GM search. And that I think will be the first step in the process. And then we'll probably find out what we're going to do in terms of the head coach. But we'll see. I don't expect to get a Joe Judge answer tomorrow, though. Blake, man, thank you very much, man. He says, Judge basically admitted he was playing to punt on those quarterback sneaks. He did the same thing last week. He was super conservative. They ran on 3rd and 10. And that's what boggles my mind. I said it during the live stream. The situation the New York Giants are currently in, what is your defense? What is your defense? To run a QB sneak on 3rd and 9 at your own 5. Yes, I understand Jake Fromm's not a very good quarterback, and you don't want to risk throwing a pick 6 there if the game meant something. You have nothing to lose. In a game like this, for you to be going a 3rd and 9 QB sneak on your own 4 or 5 yard line, and maybe that's Kitch's decision. I don't think so. I think that was probably Judge's decision to go for a QB sneak, 2 straight plays to give your punter some room. I understood it on the 2nd down rather, to get yourself out to the 4. You were on like the 1 or the 2, but on 3rd down, that made no sense. Now, if the Giants were competitive and this game meant something in order to make the playoffs, and you said to yourself, Fromm's more than likely not picking up this 1st down, let me give myself another yard or 2 to give my punter a little bit more room, somewhat understandable. But based on the situation, based on the fact that this team, you have nothing to lose, why in the world are you going a QB sneak on 3rd and 9? Made no sense to me whatsoever, and it just goes to show how conservative he's been all year. But we've been talking about that all year. Chris says, remember when we thought Joe Judge deserved Coach of the Year? Yeah, I don't think I ever said that. I know some people did. I like Joe Judge. I don't think I ever went as far to say Coach of the Year, but we were sold. We were happy as a fan base. I'll be the first to say. And maybe he could be a good head coach, but we don't know that. And for me, start over, start from scratch. He has not done near enough to convince me that he's worthy of fitting a GM around next year. That's just my opinion on the matter. And I don't think my opinion is going to change. Am I going to cry? Am I going to complain if they keep him? I mean, what can I do as a fan, as a content creator? I got to hope that it works out. And I'll hope that the GM they bring in does a really good job, as long as they bring in a guy that is not forced on by Joe Judge and ownership, and they bring in a true outsider. That to me is by far the most important thing. But if it was up to me, I'd want to start completely over. And Christian, man, thank you very much. Let's see. I just want to make sure I catch up with everybody. Jason and Talk. I think I read Talk. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any members. I don't like missing those. It's just that they don't show them on my on StreamYard. I have to look on the YouTube chat. I got Jason next. Let me just read this real quick. Pete, man, thank you for remember for 13 months. Says we also shouldn't let Kellen Moore just be gift wrapped to the Jags. I think he's a premier offensive mind. Cowboys are not. Listen, I don't care what team they come from. If Kellen Moore could get the job done, what I will say is Kellen Moore obviously has an ideal situation with Dallas. I'm not saying maybe he could be a great head coach. I'm not saying he can't be, but they got a great offensive line. They got maybe the best supporting cast in all of football on offense. So if not the best, one of the best. But he's obviously done good things for that offense since they moved on from Garrett. I would bring him in for an interview. My guess is, though, in terms of him, I think he's going to be the guy that's kind of in the wings for the future head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. But we'll see. If he gets a really good job opportunity, he'll probably take it. Jason says, let's also digest this. They fired Jerry Reese mid-season when he had already won 2 Super Bowls, but they let Gettleman retire. Maris Dweeb said, yeah, I mean, I've talked about the only rational reason why they wouldn't have fired Gettleman, and the only thing I could come up with because I tried to. What did I miss? He says you missed my members chat. Okay, LA Sports. Sorry, you didn't have to donate. Hold on, let me scroll up. I got you. I got you next, man. I didn't mean to miss that, man. As far as the only thing I could come up with as far as Gettleman goes is that they don't want to embarrass the previous GM because they know they're bringing in new GMs to interview. And maybe that's like Mara's line of thinking. Like he doesn't want to go out of his way to embarrass Gettleman, knowing that he's trying to impress these guys that are coming in for GM interviews. But I agree with you. He completely deserves to be fired. This team's been a complete disaster. As far as the Reese thing goes, I think that had more to do with McAdoo, but maybe not. But I think it had more to do with McAdoo and the Eli Manning thing, and that they knew that the fan base was ready to revolt, and they just blew it up midseason. But I agree with you. I mean, if Gettleman got a send off in terms of retirement, I mean, it's a little bit different though because Reese, you couldn't say he was going to retire, right? Because he wasn't that old. But regardless, I'm with you, man. He deserved to be fired midseason. I'm not going to argue against that. Let me read LA's chat. He says, Chris, what's your prediction for Joe Judge? As always, tons of love from Toronto. Hopefully I could get you on my channel this offseason. Yeah, LA Sports, man, for sure, man. Just message me up, message me on Twitter, and I'll definitely try to make it a point to come on your channel. As far as Judge goes, my opinion, I think they're going to fire him. I do. I think they're going to fire him. I do. And I'm not saying I would say I'm like 55-45 they're going to fire him, or 60-40. I'm not completely sold that they're going to fire him, but I'm leaning that they're going to fire him. I mean, I look at it like, how can you, like, you have to think of it as a business. And how can Mara sell the fan base next year if you bring back Joe Judge? What is there to sell? Yeah, let's bring back the head coach that we were dead last in offense the last 2 years. And yes, you could use injuries as an excuse, like I said, but they weren't very injured last year. They were horrible. And I understand they didn't have a lot of talent in terms of the skill position in the offensive line and everything else. I don't see what you sell this fan base on. He's been ultra conservative, even when the offense was healthy this year, in terms of being a head coach. I don't see it. I don't see a potential great head coach. At least that's the way I feel right now. And maybe my opinion would change next year if they brought him back. But the way I feel right now, he's not worth hanging on to potentially damage the GM that you could bring in. That's my take on it. Frank Man, he says, we have the perfect chance to get everybody on the same timeline, let the GM pick his coach, and you have at least 4 years to figure it out. I'm with you, man. And that is why, Frank, I did not want to fire Shermer. I wanted Gettleman and Shermer to get a third year together on the same timeline. And then I would have fired him in 2020. I'd have been a complete disaster, and we'll never know if it would have been. But that would be my mindset. If you're running a GM and a head coach together, I would give them at least 3 years before I even started contemplating that. And had they brought in a GM with Judge, I wouldn't have been on board with firing Judge this year. I would have been like, all right, I'll give him another year with the GM who decided to bring him in. They didn't do that. If you have a chance to put a GM and a head coach on the same timeline, I'm giving them at least 3 years before I start thinking about change at either position, because I think it's going to take at least 2 years to really start to turn this team around. If you bring in a new GM and he brings in a different mindset and he, tries to build the team that he wants, the way that he wants to build it. But yeah, I give him at least 3, probably 4 years if you start from scratch. But yeah, like you said, this is the opportunity to do it. We'll see if they do it. Shia, man, thank you so much, man, for the $2 donation. I appreciate it, buddy. If we fire Judge, we better hire Harbaugh. We don't even know if Harbaugh. I'd be happy with Harbaugh. I'll tell you that. And yeah, I didn't mean to miss your super chat, man. Kevin says Borgonzi out of Kansas City is the guy for GM. Amazing talent evaluator that finds exceptional value in the draft. Yeah, I did a video, I don't know, like 3 weeks ago on potential GM candidates. And I talked about the guys that I thought were more realistic options. That was mainly like the Patriot guys. And then I talked about guys that I would want. And Borgonzi was one of the 2 guys I'd want the most. Ed Dodds being the other in terms of complete outsiders. I don't know if Borgonzi would take the job because it's not the most desirable job, in the NFL. And he's a really highly thought of general manager candidate. But yeah, he's been called the secret weapon of the Kansas City Chiefs front office. The way they've drafted in recent years, how could you argue against it? So I hope they at least bring him in for an interview. J-Man, he says, I know Harbaugh is a fan favorite and sexy pick, but I think Jim Caldwell would make so much more sense, and you would have to make him de facto GM like Harbaugh. Oh, I think you meant to say you wouldn't, but maybe you meant they would. I'd have to do more research on Caldwell. I know people liked him with the Colts. I'd have to do more research on Caldwell. I've always been a big Harbaugh fan, but at this point, I'm open. Just bringing a bunch of coaches like we did last time. Do a thorough search if you're going to move on from Judge and pick the best guy. I know a lot of Giants fans have talked about Caldwell. I've always been a big Harbaugh fan, and when rumor came out that he was potentially available, I'm going to voice my opinion. I would be interested in potentially bringing him in. Peter says, did you catch the part three Giants deep dive on the Go Long website? Literally almost made me vomit. I did not. This team has destroyed me this season. I did not know the Giants deep dive on no, I don't even know what you're referring to, Pete. But in terms of your second sentence there, yeah, I think this team made all of us vomit as Giant fans, as football fans this year. This was a year we were hoping to at least get some excitement. Maybe not even the playoffs, but a team that was going to be semi-competitive this year. And some of it due to injuries for sure. Some of it due to poor coaching. Some of it just due to poor plays from the players. I mean, Kenny Golladay today. Let's talk about him. And I've been like whatever with Golladay. I've kind of been passive because I don't think it's all his fault or even mainly his fault this year with the way that he's been utilized. I think definitely some of the play calling, obviously the offensive line, the quarterback play. Kenny Golladay quit today. I don't care what anybody says. You want to say business decision? This guy's getting paid $18 million a year. $18 million a year. It's not like he's a free agent next year. Kenny Golladay quit today. Kenny Golladay didn't lay out for that ball. Then he had to play in the red zone where he decided to just skip out of bounds rather than fight for those extra 3 or 4 or 5 yards. He quit. Disaster. That almost made me vomit. Paying that guy $18 million a year to quit. Anthony says, league inserted Young. Time for Mara to step down. Mara ain't stepping down. But we inserted Young when we were 4-13. So I don't want my players quitting when we're 4-13. I don't care. I don't want my players quitting when we're 4-13. I don't care. You're getting paid millions of dollars to go out there and compete. You have a lot of teammates that are going out there trying to fight for their jobs next year. I don't want you quitting. That's not a good look for the franchise. That's not a good look for him, in my opinion. But they're not going to fire Mara. Mara's not stepping down at the end of the year. The FBI says, credit to the Eagles, fooled the hell out of the Colts, got cap relief, top 20 pick, and a third rounder, and made the playoffs. We had an old senile here. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Because the Colts missed the playoffs now, the Eagles are going to get a better draft pick. And the Dolphins are obviously going to miss the playoffs too. So they're going to get 2 picks inside the 3 picks inside. Well, 2 because they're making the playoffs. 2 picks inside the top 20 with the trades that they made. I hate to say it, man. The Eagles had a great offseason this year, man. And I'm not going to say he's a POS, but I didn't like seeing that today. Again, I understand the season's over. You're not looking to get hurt, but I don't know, man. I try to lay out for that ball at least. J-Man J says, Jim Caldwell had a winning record with the Lions, man. We need to bring in a seasoned coach who can really set the foundation for this team. Similar to when we brought an older TC. Yeah, well, that's the way I would look at Harbaugh, too, if they were to bring him in. But, yeah, I think most Giant fans that I've talked to in terms of, like, head coaches that they want to bring in, that's the approach they want to take. They don't want to bring in a guy with, like, no experience at all at this point. They want to bring in somebody that has some experience in terms of having some success in the NFL as a head coach. Harbaugh, guy I've talked about, he's incredibly similar to Coughlin. Coughlin was known as a hard ass. If we were to hire Harbaugh, which we won't, not trying to get anybody's hopes up, he would be the same age of Coughlin when we hired him, 58. Coughlin was 58 when we brought him in, was known to be on shaky ground at his previous destination. So I am with you, man. I would want to bring in somebody with some experience. Young says, got to fire Judge. All right. Throw Gettleman out the window. All right. Got to fire Judge. All right. Throw Gettleman out the window. All right. Draft 2 first round offensive linemen. All right. And that's where the draft's going to start for me. I am going to be all aboard the offensive line train. So get ready for it in the offseason. I'm not saying it's a must. I'm not saying that if you're in love with a defensive player, you take them. I'm not saying you have to force 2 offensive linemen, but I will be smiles ear to ear if the New York Giants end up with Evan Neal and like Tyler Linderbaum. If you give me that situation and you get one of the best centers to come out of college in a really long time, you get a guy that's thought to be an elite tackle prospect, you put him on this line, I'll be smiles ear to ear because those are long-term pieces for this football team. So I'd be ecstatic if they end up with that young, and we'll see what they decide to do in the offseason. A lot of that's going to come down to the general manager that they bring in and what his philosophy is going to be. Bryce says, so what's our draft pick right now? Well, you got to wait till the end of these games. But right now, I'm almost positive that actually we're set with the Bears pick. That's going to be the 7th pick. I'm almost positive because I think they're going to win the tiebreaker regardless what happens in the Seattle game because Seattle's strength of schedule is going to go up because they're playing a good team. And right now, the strength of schedule is even. So I think the Bears pick is going to be 7. The Giants pick will be 5 unless the Jets win. If the Jets win, we'll be 4. I don't know what the Jets score is right now, but we're probably going to be 5 and 7. That's where we're going to be. And we're going to have an opportunity to get some really good talent in this football team. Maybe you get a really good edge rusher. Maybe, I don't know. But you're going to be able to get 2 really good players. And we're going to talk about that all offseason. Nikki says, was 3-0 in games attended this year. Now I'm 3-1. Oh, you went to the game today, Nikki? Well, hopefully you had some fun, being that it was the last game of the year. But maybe you got really good seats for next to nothing, probably. They might as well be giving those tickets away for free. I know license plate guy was on Twitter all week. He's awesome. Wow, so you got to see 3 of their wins. Good for you. I got to see one of their wins. I went to the Eagles game. Jason, thank you very much, man. I think the GM job for the Giants is still a big deal. 2 picks in the first round, 5 picks in the top 80. Cap space opens up in 2023. And if you can bring in this great franchise to the top again, that person will be a legend. Yeah, Jason, I don't think it's the, I talked about that in when I did the Harbaugh video. I talked about, I actually think we're a more desirable location than, like, say, the Chicago Bears, because the Bears don't have any first round picks. You're forcing a quarterback. The GM that comes in would have full say. If he wants to draft a quarterback, I don't think anybody's going to stop him. And like you said, 2 top 10, 2 top 7 picks. Cap space is not as bad as some fans may lead on for next year. It's not good. But after that, it's clear you'd be able to build the roster the way that you want and start over. And if you get this team back on track, like you said, you'd be thought of as a god, as a legend. This is an organization that's just been a complete dumpster fire in recent years. And I don't know, maybe it's not as bad as some people may think. But the other thing you got to say, though, if you do fire these guys, which obviously you're firing Gettleman, you don't know if you're firing Judge, is a head coach going to feel confident taking this job, knowing that we have a quick trigger finger? I don't know. We'll see. JD says, worst owner, GM, coach in the NFL. Mara Tisch must divorce from team decisions and turn football operations I probably lost a lot of you guys. I apologize. I don't know what my router literally just rebooted on its own. I didn't even lose power. I'm gonna scroll up and make sure I might have missed a super chat or two. I don't know what happened there. I'm sure a lot of people left. Let me put the game on the next channel. So I apologize. But I was in the middle of reading this. He says worst owner GM coach in football, Maritish must divorce from team decision and turn football ops over now. Anything else is delaying the inevitable. I mean, I'm with you. It's what I said at the top of the stream. It's basically what I've said all day, all over Twitter. If it was me, I'm starting over, and I think that's the right course of action. I really do. I think that's the right course of action for this football team. Start over, man. There's no reason to try and force this at this point. Start over, bring in the best GM you can, let him hire the guy who he feels is the best head coach that he could bring in, and start building this team up from scratch the way that you should have done it in 2018. That's what I think the Giants should do. I don't know if it's what they're going to do. You were aggressive this year. You took a shot. It hasn't worked out. That's my take on it right now, and I apologize, for conking out there. A matter of fact, let me pull up. Sometimes I could go back and see if I missed a donation. I don't like doing that. I'm sorry that the internet conked out there. That happens every once in a while. I don't know what it is, man. I gotta get a new cable provider. Who was the last person I read there? I think JD Blake's up next. Let me read these, catch up on these. Blake says Jim Caldwell is kind of the time the Coughlin route, old school, tough coach who doesn't talk about changing culture. He just changes it. Hey, listen, I'm completely open to that. I mean, that's kind of what I like about Harbaugh. So if that's what Caldwell could bring to the table, that's the type of coach I want right now. I want a guy with a proven track record that could come in and get this team back on the right track. And we'll see. I'm still not – I don't even want to talk about the head coaching search until such time that I really do truly feel like they're going to be looking for a new head coach. It's why I haven't done any videos outside of the Harbaugh thing, because if you watch my channel, you've always known I've been a huge Harbaugh fan. And there was a rumor that he'd be open to the NFL, and that's a guy that I think you do whatever you got to do to get this guy in here. But I obviously will do a lot of videos on the coaching, the potential coaches that we could bring in here if we decide to move on from Joe Judge. But let's see him do it first. Shia says, if you get a Schefter update saying breaking news, the Giants are giving Gettleman one more year, will you have a Daniel Jones draft level freak out? Yes. I mean, yes, because there's no reason. There is no reason to bring Dave Gettleman back at this point in time. I was as patient as I could be with Dave. I gave him as fair as an opportunity as I felt like he deserved. As a guy that came in and took on the team that he did. It was a really tough situation. He didn't make it any better, though. And, I would flip out. I would completely destroy this New York Giants franchise if they decided to stick with Dave Gettleman. There's no reason for that. No, absolutely not. It's not going to happen, though. He's stepping down tomorrow. I already know that. I'm not even worried about that. T, and then I think I should be caught up. We're already the Brown. Yeah, we're the Brown. Name the worst organizations in football. That's what we are right now. And T says, we fired Coughlin, got McAdoo, and got worse. 2 years later, tossed McAdoo for Shermer, plus Dave Gettleman sucked more. 2 years later, rolled with Judge, and here we are. Who believe we won't wash, rinse, repeat? I mean, we should, and like I've said, there is several times, there is less of a reason, at least in my opinion, to keep Judge than there was Pat Shermer. I think Pat Shermer, there was a strong reason to keep him. And that obviously was Daniel Jones. I don't see a strong reason to keep Joe Judge, other than the fact that you don't want to fire another head coach again after 2 years. But to me, that's not a good enough reason. It's not a good enough reason. Shaw says, I thought the Giants cut you off, clean house. I thought the same thing. Maybe they did. Maybe they knocked off my router. And Coded says, Chris left to go look at the tape. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go look at the tape. We thought the Giants hacked the stream. They might have, Alvin. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. What's going on there, Cush Mannix popping in? What's going on there, JA3? Matter of fact, let me take a quick look at the scoreboard around the league right now. I had a couple of bets now that they got betting legal in New York, so I'm interested to see how the Patriots are getting killed. Wow, that's surprising to me. Miami's beating Patriots 17-0. Now I know they already clinched the playoffs, but wow. And Tampa Bay is losing to Carolina. That's a bit of a shocker, too. The last week is always crazy, though. You don't know what's going to happen. Let's see what we got. Junior Salazar says, would you give Harbaugh the head coach and GM position? Because it sounds like he wants full reign of everything. I would, yes. Would Mara do that? I don't know. And a lot of people talk about how Mara and Harbaugh can't coexist, and that might be true. I mean, Mara's been a guy that has shown that he wants his hands on things. But I think we all agree that that probably shouldn't be the case. So if it was up to me, yes, I would do whatever it took to bring in somebody that could get this organization back to where they need to be. Is Harbaugh the long-term answer? Probably not. But is he a guy that has proven he could improve a situation? I think so. Bob says just watch Sean McVay rundown and the Higbee for his touchdown. That's what we need enthusiasm. Oh yeah, I just saw the replay on Red Zone. Sean McVay getting excited about Higbee. Listen, Sean McVay is you're not going to find Sean McVay. You're talking about a guy that's like still under 40 years old or however old he is, one of the greatest minds in football. Like, I'm not banking on getting a guy like that, but we need a better head coach. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, I think Sean McVay is one of the top 4 or 5 head coaches in the National Football League. Tudo says Coach Coughlin was never hired by Moron Mara. Ernie, of course, he was told to bring in an over-aggressive disciplinary head coach and at any cost to fix all the mess with the New York Giants. Maybe. I don't know the whole story with that. I don't remember, to be honest with you, in terms of the hiring process. I don't know. I'm sure that Mara had some say. Coded says, but I'm sure, of course, he also had a lot to do with it. Coded says, and thank you for popping in, Tudo. If you had to pick a road game for the Giants to go to, which one would it be and why? Yeah, let me pull up at least what I project to be the Giants' schedule next year. I haven't looked. I don't think it's officially come out yet, but I did this, and I think it was pretty similar to other projected Sorry, guys. I'm gonna do. If it happens again, I'm just gonna close it out before I come back. I'm guessing they're probably like doing work in the area. This happens every now and again. I used to be a cable technician, so that's probably what's going on. They're probably doing work in the area, and it keeps knocking out my internet. Wasn't doing it during the game. My box and internet are both in the same device. So if it happens again, I'll have to wait till come back on and then end the stream. I don't want to keep missing your guys' chats and everything. I don't mean for that to happen. So I apologize, guys. He says if you had to pick a road game, yeah. In terms of the road game question, I want to make sure I answer that for you, man. I looked at the schedule. It's at Dallas, at Washington, at the Eagles, at the Packers, at the Vikings, at the Jaguars, at the Titans, at the Seahawks. First thing I'll say, if I could pick any road game, if it was earlier in the season, I don't know if I'd want to go to Green Bay in December or January. But if it was earlier in the season, I think I'd love to go to Lambeau Field. I think that's got to be like definitely on my list in terms of stadiums that, if you're a football fan, everybody should probably visit. So that's probably on my list. I would say at Green Bay. Outside of that, I mean, Jacksonville's not a very desirable location. Maybe Tennessee. That'd probably be cool to go to Nashville. I'd probably go with the Green Bay game, though. So I apologize, guys. I'm going to blame the Giants, though, for my internet dropping out, though. I'm going to blame the Giants, like you guys said earlier. Let me just read here in case, just so I make sure I didn't miss any of these. I thought the Giants cut you off clean. I already read that. Let's see. Tudo, I got. Tim Jim, man, thank you so much for the $5 donation. I appreciate that, man. And Abe says, my Hurricanes finally opened up the wallet and got their head coach. Now I pray the G-men do the same thing. Get Harbaugh no matter what. Wishful. I agree. I think it's wishful thinking, but if I'm with you, do whatever you got to do to bring the best possible head coach and GM that you could possibly bring into here. And if you're going to be able to convince a really qualified candidate to take this job, especially a head coach, you're going to have to open up the bank. You're probably going to have to give him more than a 5-year deal if you want to bring in a really good head coach. And even then, they may not take the job. But I'm with you, man. Do whatever you got to do to bring in the best guys that you possibly can at the GM and head coach, because that's the only way we're going to get out of this mess. But again, I apologize, guys. Goat says, Chris, I went to the Titans game. Their stadium is insane. Yeah, I mean, everybody says that Nashville's awesome. Dave Ziegler for GM and Mike Kopka for OC, draft Neil and Linderbaum. So you want to fit a GM around Judge, essentially. That's what Ziegler would be. But I'm with you on Neil and Linderbaum. Did they boo Judge? I wasn't at the game, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But I would imagine they did. How could you not boo Judge and the Giants? Tudo says, time for Chris to take a little vacation to come to Italy. Come back and get a faster internet. It's not even the faster internet. It's the I think they're doing work. I think they're doing work in the area because this happens every now and again. That's my guess, at least. So I apologize. It's not that it's going slow. It's that it's getting completely knocked out. What's up there, Preston, man? Thanks for popping in. You should go to the LA state. Well, they're not playing LA. If they were, I would go. Chris, I don't know if he will be available this offseason. And yes, we had a bad game today. But what do you think about Tyler Huntley in Baltimore? Yeah, people have talked about him. Listen, I mean, if you could get him for next to nothing, as long as I'm not giving up really high draft capital, I'm okay with bringing him in to at least compete with Daniel Jones. I'm okay with that. I don't know how successful he would be here. He's in a scheme that is perfectly built around Lamar Jackson. And like you said, he's kind of a Lamar Jackson clone. You'd have to tailor the offense around a quarterback like that. Our offensive line is not great to begin with. So I don't know how successful he would be here. He looks somewhat, good in Baltimore because he's in Baltimore where they've tailored their offense around a quarterback, with his type of skill set. They have a competent offensive line. They have a competent head coach. So I don't know how successful he would be here, but if you could get him for, little draft compensation, I'd be interested. Trubisky or Mariota? I mean, I'm probably Mariota if I could pick one. I don't know what their cost would be in terms of being a backup quarterback, but probably if I could pick one, Mariota. Could be the best week of the season coming up, Marco says. What are you talking about? The draft? Are you talking about the offseason? Oh no, you're talking about the firings. Well, you're going to get Dave Gettleman's going to retire tomorrow. There's no doubt about it. Dave Gettleman's going to retire tomorrow, and then we'll find out about the head coach. But Dave Gettleman will be gone tomorrow. Phillip Rivers is done. If the Panthers win, do we jump them in the order for the Bears pick? No, I don't think so because of the strength of schedule. They're like well below rather, which is the tiebreaker, the Chicago Bears. I think the Bears are as high as they're going to get, and that's 7, and I think that's where they're going to stay. The only pick that could shift is if the Jets win, which I have not looked at the score. Jets right now are, what's the score in that game? Jets are down 10-0. So don't bank on Buffalo losing that game. So, well, I think we're going to stay at 5 and 7, which are two really good picks. The ESPN Pick'em League, I'm going to look at that at the end of the season. After the playoffs and everything, I'll get in touch with whoever won, Joe. And I'll figure something out after the season's over. I know the season's over, but after the playoffs, I'll look into it. And I'll get in touch with that. True Apple says, describe your emotions during Linsanity. I was obviously not on YouTube during Linsanity. Linsanity, it was like one of those things where when you were watching it, like you knew it was fluky. You knew it wasn't going to last forever, but it was fun. It was one of those things like you enjoyed it, while it was going on, but you knew it didn't really mean anything in terms of long-term success or anything like that. I'm trying to compare it to something. It would be like, trying to compare it to something. It would be kind of like Mike White with the Jets. Not that I'm trying to knock Jeremy Lin, because Jeremy Lin is better than Mike White with the Jets. But remember when Mike White was having like those 3 and 4 touchdown games with the Jets? He had like back-to-back really good games, and people were starting to talk up Mike White. But people in the back of their head, if they were smart, were probably like, I'm going to enjoy it, but it's probably not going to last forever. It was the same thing with Jeremy Lin. That was my mindset. And it was great. It was so much fun. He had so many buzzer beaters. Christian says, I think it's fair to Joe Judge to have another season with his offensive coordinator. It might be fair. I'm about what is right for the team, though. And I right now, in my opinion, I don't think keeping Judge is the right decision. It might not be fair to fire him, but I don't think it's the right decision. That's just my opinion on it. I do think Joe Judge got screwed in a lot of, you could point to a lot of things. Like you said, he was forced on Jason Garrett. He had a ton of injuries this year. I've given my reasons as to why I'd move on from him. Strongest reason is the GM search. But, it is what it is. They're going to do what they want to do. Mauer's going to do what he wants. John says, did you see the sidelines? They had a little retirement celebration section for Gettleman and his family. Just unbelievable. I did not see that. I saw that he was up in the booth at the end of the game. They were showing him on his cell phone. I saw that. But no, I didn't see that. I did not see a retirement ceremony for Dave Gettleman. Certainly doesn't deserve that. I recognize he had something to do with some of those Super Bowl winning teams. He was like the head scout for the Giants. I understand that. But in terms of being a GM for this team, he's been a complete failure. T says, I understand passion fandom, but I admire intelligent and respectful commentary even more. Thank you for both. P.S. I like the Belichick head coach GM model for Harbaugh, but it ain't happening. I'm with you, T. I don't think it'll, and I appreciate the compliment. Thank you very much. I agree with you. I don't think it'll happen. I'll keep my hopes up, and I'll hope that it can happen. He's he's always been my guy going all the way back to the last coaching search, that if he was available, I'd be head over heels in love with it. I don't think it'll happen, though. I'm with you. It probably won't. And I don't see Mara doing that. Mara's old school. He doesn't seem to be the type of owner that would, do what the Raiders did with Gruden, like completely surrender both, the power of the GM and the head coach. I don't think it would happen. And especially based off the fact that Harbaugh battled so much like he did with upper management last time around with the San Francisco 49ers. I don't think it'll happen. I would love for it to happen, but I don't think it will. I only want Harbaugh if we fire Judge. Well, that's the only way it would happen. You're not going to come on if you don't fire Judge. Justin says, you think Pete Carroll? I don't want Pete Carroll. You talk to any Seattle fan, Seahawks fans they're done with Carroll. They don't like Carroll. Okay, I might get hate for this, but what about Rex Ryan? He has made it no secret that he wants another shot. Listen, I respect Rex Ryan, and he's an easy guy to like, even though I didn't like what he had to say about the New York Giants when he was the Jets coach, but I can't fault him for that. Big brother, little brother was trying to build some respect from, within the New York fan base. Rex Ryan, to me, not a good fit for New York. Not a good fit for New York. And maybe he could be a good head coach in the NFL, but with the way the media is and how loudmouth he is as a head coach, I don't think I'd want that type of head coach being the New York Giants head coach. I don't deny he's a really good defensive mind. But I'm not sold on him in terms of a head coach for the New York Giants. I don't love him as a head coach, especially in New York. COVID says we really need to start over again, and we have 2 top 10 picks, 2 top 7 picks to start over with. Eric Bieniemy, Deshaun Watson to New York, please. Yeah. I mean, I would love Deshaun Watson. Depends on what the price would be, but I would love Deshaun Watson. And we're not going to hire Eric Bieniemy, in my opinion. I wouldn't be against it, but I don't think we're going to hire Eric Bieniemy. Hey, Chris, I was at the game, and the best part was the fans erupting every time Corey Cunningham was announced as eligible. It happened 15 to 10. That's awesome, man. The thing with Eric Bieniemy that nobody ever talks about, and I think the main reason why he's not getting jobs, the guy, and I looked it up the other day, the guy has at least one, if not two DUIs, and he beat somebody up. Like, I don't remember. I read it. I don't want to misquote anything, but he has like a checkered past. I don't think the Giants are going to hire him. What would you do with our first round picks and a second of next year for what would you do both of our first round picks and a second for next year for Watson? I mean, obviously the biggest question with Watson is his off the field stuff, right? I mean, the allegations, I don't even know if the Giants would look to bring somebody like that in. But just on the football field, if you got past that as an organization and we're looking to acquire a player like that, yeah. Sean Watson's 25 years old. He's one of the top 5 or 6 most talented quarterbacks in the league. Vegas predicted 6 wins. Why are Giants fans surprised? I don't even know if we're surprised. I think there's issues with the coaching. I think there's things that Joe Judge does that agitates people. And yeah, regardless of what was fair to predict for this team, the fact that they went out and spent as much as they did in free agency this year, you don't spend that much to win 6 games. So regardless of what Vegas thought, the fans' expectation should have been much higher. It's my opinion. We were the most active team in free agency. I don't care what Vegas says. The fan base should have expected more than 6 wins. Now, granted, there were a lot of injuries. I understand that. But the excuses wear thin year after year after year after year after year. And it gets to a point where you say, okay, it's time to start over. It's time to blow this up. David says it's time to activate and blow it up. GM, head coach, trade every player you can for draft capital and rebuild this team the right way, especially the online. Yeah, I don't think they're going to trade a lot of players because I agree that they're objective. Does that regardless if Vegas is on the money, then the Giants did a horrible job in free agency because you don't get that aggressive in free agency to up your win total to 6. So even if that was realistic expectations, well, then the Giants screwed up spending as much as they did in free agency to get a 6-win product. So regardless, you have a right to be upset with the New York Giants. But as far as the it's time to activate and blow it up, GM, head coach, trade every player you can for draft capital and rebuild this team the right way. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to trade a lot of players. I mean, nobody's taking the Kenny Golladay contract. Nobody's taking the Adore Jackson contract. Nobody's taking the Leonard Williams contract. I don't think you're getting much for Barkley. You're better off just bringing him back for a year and seeing if he can improve and then maybe look to trade a player like that. Maybe there's a player or two you could trade. I don't think you're going to be able to trade a lot of players from this roster next year. But I'm with you. You have to be long-term thinking right now, and you have to start to build this team properly. And yeah, even if that was like realistic expectations, it still wasn't a good decision. But then the Giants didn't do a good job. That's the way I look at it in terms of being as aggressive as they were in free agency this offseason. Blake says, because if that was the case, if by doing what they did in free agency, up them to a 6-win team preseason, then they would have been better off just saving their money and not investing the way in which they did. We need a head coach who has held the position before. Belichick, Rivera. Well, Belichick ain't coming here. Rivera ain't coming here. McCarthy and Reed are all retreads. Not every young coach is McVay. Oh, you're just using examples of coaches that have been retreads that have been successful. If you could get Harbaugh, if you could get a retread that had listen, during the coaching search last time, I didn't really get an opportunity to talk about it much because Washington hired him like at the beginning of everything. Rivera was my first choice. That was a guy I wanted more than anybody. He was a 2-time coach of the year, I think, with Carolina. I would have loved Ron Rivera. So I'm not always a guy that needs a completely fresh young mind coming in here. I'm with you. But let's see what we got here. A kid called Chris says, praying with Colts out, Ed Dodds fancies a change. I don't know if the Giants would be the change he's looking for. but I would love Ed Dodds. Tudo says, very easy to fix all the New York Giants problems in dilemma. All we need is 53 picks on the next draft and average head coach who ain't a clown. Yeah, that's it. Just 53 first, the first 53 picks in the draft, and the Giants will be just fine. Look, there's a lot of possibilities for the G-Men, but in the end, it comes down to Mara, and that's what's terrifying going into the offseason. Yeah, Mara's got to change. I mean, I think we all agree on that as a fan base. There seemed to be a lot of fans going into this year, and there's still some fans that defend Mara. And I'm not to say it's all his fault. It's not. Like he doesn't decide what to do on the field in terms of the coaching and everything else, but in terms of his general, the way that he handles things, the way he's done things over the last 10 years has been a complete disaster. And I don't think most people would not debate that. There's still going to be some fans that I guess stick up for Mara. I don't think there's much to stick up for. I think he's done a horrible job as an owner. Eyork says, at least in recent history, draft 4 offensive linemen in the first 5 picks. Eagles showed you can have a winning record with a dominant running game. Next year will be a winning season. I mean, if they could come in and be really good. We saw with Andrew Thomas, it took a year for him to really develop and become the offensive lineman that he became this year. I'm going to try to pump the brakes on expectations this year with the offensive line, even if they decide to draft 2 first-round offensive linemen. I think a lot of fans are just going to expect this offensive line to be the Great Wall of China the first year that these guys step in the first game. I'm not going to do that. I think it's going to take 6 to 8 games for these guys to start to gel and learn to play with one another. And it's not just about next year. It's about long-term thinking. It's about building this team properly the right way. So even if they draft 2 first-round offensive linemen, I'm not going to expect this offensive line to look beautiful next year. I think it's going to be a process. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for these guys to grow, but you have to start somewhere. You have to start to address it. And the sooner we address it, the better. It is so imperative that the Giants get that offensive line situated. And T says, will you be live streaming postseason, perhaps with a few other tubers? Yeah. Anytime there's something big, like tomorrow, I probably will live stream. I'm definitely going to do a Dave Gettleman video, and I'll probably live stream. But anytime there's something big, I'm going to live stream. I'm going to do free agency. I'm actually going to be on Patricia Traina's channel this week. She reached out to me on Twitter. I'm going to do a Giants roundtable probably in a week or two, recapping the season. There's going to be plenty to talk about. There's going to be a lot of activity in the offseason for the Giants. I'll be live at least once a week. Whether it be live, whatever, mock drafts as the draft gets closer, free agency, rumors, whatever. There's going to be a lot to talk about. Hey, Chris, finally it's over is right, Baruch, man. Thanks for popping in, man. And if you guys haven't done so, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell. I'd be okay with taking Jordan Davis because that kid is going to be a freak. Jordan Davis is a beast. I don't know if I'd want to take him in the top 7. He's an interior defensive lineman, but that guy's a beast. There's no doubt about it. That guy is a big, big human. Let's see. Kansas City Chiefs totally revamped their line. They didn't have a problem. They did. But what I'll always say about the Kansas City Chiefs revamping their line, the Kansas City Chiefs revamped their line. One, they brought in one of the best tackles in football, okay, with the trade, and then they drafted 2 linemen in this year's draft. But it's a lot easier for linemen to look good when you have Pat Mahomes behind center and you have Andy Reid calling the plays. When you have an offensive coordinator from the dinosaur days, and you have a quarterback, not to disrespect Daniel Jones, but who's not even close to a guy like Pat Mahomes, the offensive line is not going to look as good as they did in that circumstance. Jordan Davis, yeah, I know he's older. Jordan Davis is 12. He's still going to go in the first round though, I think, Isaac, but I don't want him. Nowhere near where we're picking. I wouldn't want him in the top 7, and I just think we have more pressing needs on this team. So I wouldn't get behind taking Jordan Davis top 7. But he's a beast though. He's super impressive. But yeah, I know he's older. Peter says people are saying Neal could go number 1 if he's out of reach. Who do you like more? Akwonu, I hope that's how it's pronounced. I love him as a prospect. And Linderbaum 5 and 7. I gotta learn how to pronounce his name because I'm going to be talking about him a lot in the offseason, especially now that we're going to get into draft talk and everything else. I would take Icum, the tackle from NC State / guard. People don't know exactly what he's going to play in the NFL before Linderbaum for the simple reason that he's a tackle. Linderbaum, I think I'd be able to get at 7, no doubt. But 5 and 7, there's not much. You're basically picking back to back. So I guess if you said to yourself, we can't miss on the center, and we really like 2 tackles, maybe you do take Linderbaum first. Like, say, like they have Icum and name another Charles Cross. Say they're like neck and neck, and they're both on the board, and they know they're going to double up on the offensive line, and they say we got to make sure we get. the more that I think about it, because of where we're picking, if that's the plan going into the draft, it may actually make more sense to take Linderbaum first if they were doubling up on the offensive line, because we're going to be picking 2 picks later. So if they feel like Cross and, Ichem are like neck and neck, maybe you do take Linderbaum first, and then you still get your choice of, one of the 2 tackles. Because obviously there's not a center that's even comparable to a guy like Linderbaum. So based off the situation, if you're not going to trade down, maybe you do take Linderbaum first, if that's the plan, if you're doubling up on the line. But Pete, man, thank you very much, man. David, man, thank you very much, man. It all depends, though, on how much better they think Ichem is than Cross or whatever. He's my favorite offensive lineman. I'll tell you that. I'm not saying he's the best. I don't claim to be a guy that analyzes film for offensive linemen. I don't claim to be that. But when I watch game film of him and when I watch highlights, that kid at NC State is my favorite lineman. He is mean. He is nasty. I'd be happy if the Giants drafted him. David says, I'm hearing a lot of complaints about you referring this organization as a clown show. That is mean and hurtful. I mean to the clowns. They work and provide entertainment worth watching after all. Yeah, I went after them today on Twitter. I called them a clown show. I don't think I called them that before today, but I hate saying that, man. I hate ripping my organization. You guys know that if you watch my channel. I love the Giants. I always try to be as optimistic as I can and try to root for this team as best as I can. But it's gotten to a point where I feel like, all right, I got to be honest. And this team is a clown show. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. The team's a disgrace. The team's a joke. It's been a disaster. And yes, we can point to excuses. There's always excuses. But the fact of the matter is we're as bad as anybody over the last 10 years in the NFL. And this year was supposed to be a year where we saw at least some improvement. And you tell me a player on this team, if you're being honest with yourself, outside of Andrew Thomas, tell me a player on this team that exceeded your expectations. That maybe McKinney, but McKinney was a guy that was the number 1 safety drafted in last year's draft. So he was a guy that we should have expected to look good this year. Name me another player that exceeded your expectations. Who? If this guy's such a great head coach, if the New York Giants are such great at talent evaluators and they have this great staff that gets the most out of these players, like who on this team blew you away this year that you're like, oh my God, he was so much better than I thought he was going to be. It's been a disaster, man. Aziz, that's fair. Aziz has been good. I'll be fair there. Aziz has been good. He had 8.5 or 9 sacks. He's been good. That's fair, Mike. Good point. But not many. I think you get the point. Not many. Abe says, do you have a preference for GM? Yeah, Ed Dodds would be my number 1. Borgonzi would be like my 1A. There's a lot of guys that I would like, but those 2 in particular, they've been talked about for the last 2 years in terms of guys that would be prime candidates. But there's several other guys that I think Dorsey's a guy people have brought up. I wouldn't be upset if we brought him in. Wouldn't be my first choice, but there's so many guys that the Giants could bring. The guy, Shane, I actually did you guys should check it out. The guy, Joe Shane, I think it is, from Buffalo. He's been getting a lot of talk. He has a video on YouTube where he talks about his matter of fact, I could probably pull it up for you guys. Hold on. He talks about his I guess role with the Buffalo Bills organization. It was pretty impressive. He came across as a really smart guy to me. I could pull it. Yeah, it's a 3-minute video. But this has been a guy that's been getting a lot of talk too, Abe. I'll pull it up right now. A lot of people probably don't know much about him. Roche's been good. But this is Joe Shane. I was actually watching this video last night or the night before because I'm trying to do a little bit of research on these guys. This is Joe Shane talking about his role with the Buffalo Bills. So here you go.
You guys got some players that are always in terms of being competitive and this competitive nature.
My name's Joe Shane. I'm the assistant general manager of the Buffalo Bills, and I've been with the team for just over a year now. So today, this is kind of the life of what an area scout or national scout or a college director would do. You come to the schools, you get here at 7 a.m. typically. You're going to watch film on the players, watch practice, gather information. You're going to talk to the support staff. You're going to talk to position coaches, coordinators, head coach. We like to know about their family.
He's been a name a lot of people brought up.
Support system, any siblings, uncles, aunts, anybody involved. We like to know their work ethic, how they work in the weight room, how do they work in the off season, in season. Durability, any injuries they've had, how are they around the building, how do they treat the support staff here. Buffalo has some very good senior prospects. They're going to have a chance to play in the NFL. They're building a new facility, and I think the program's heading in the right direction. They've got an excellent coaching staff, and they've done a good job recruiting, and they got a good senior class. So I'm excited to see what Buffalo does this year. Once you're out at practice, you're really trying to see first off, what they look like physically. Does this guy look like an NFL player? Does this look like what's playing in the league? And then how they move. Do they have quickness? Can they catch? Do they have good hands? Can they throw the ball? Do they have strength? Do they have power? And then how do they interact with their teammates? And at the end of the day, you got to walk out of the building and have a good feel for all the players that you looked at that day and how they're going to fit the Buffalo Bills. And then typically you got a 2-3 hour drive to the next place, type all night in a hotel, and do it again at another school. Corner's a tough kid too, man. Throwing your body around. I first fell in love with football probably when I was.
He was there when they took Josh Allen, LP. I don't know if he was the guy that
from Chicago.
He was one of the guys that made the decision over Josh Allen.
I grew up close to Notre Dame. They won a national championship in the late 80s, so that's kind of where my passion came from. I went to college at DePaul University. It's in Greencastle, Indiana. It's a Division III school. I played quarterback my freshman year, and then I moved to receiver my sophomore year and played there for 3 years. The opportunity with the Panthers came about. My mom knew the neighbor, one of those stories, of the ticketing manager with the Panthers. So I did an internship January of my junior year of college in the ticket office, which ultimately led to meeting Brandon Beane. In 2001, I was hired as a scouting assistant by the Carolina Panthers. And then I was a combine scout for a year, and then they moved me to Dallas, Texas as an area guy.
I had heard about Joe from my time in Carolina. He preceded me, but had left before I got to Carolina. So I'd heard his name and how it was held in high regard in terms of Joe as a person and also Joe as a professional in this league.
After the 2008 draft in Carolina, I was given the opportunity to become a national scout with the Miami Dolphins. And then in 2014, I was promoted to director of player personnel. And then in 2017, I came up here to Buffalo. My typical day in season, I'll be in the office on Monday, Tuesday.
But you guys get the gist.
We had a game
it's got like another minute. I don't want to bore you guys too long. You guys can check out the video if you want, but he's a guy that a lot of people have talked about that has impressed a lot of people. And he was the first guy that the general manager, I think Beane, hired immediately from his working days with the Carolina Panthers. And Buffalo's obviously done a really good job building their football team. So he's a guy that a lot of people have talked about. It's already been reported, I think, by Jordan Renan that they're going to bring him in for an interview. So he may be a guy that ultimately ends up getting this job. Who knows? But he's been a hot name. A lot of people have brought up Joe Schoen as a potential candidate for the New York Giants to bring in for the general manager. Blake says, with all the bad press Joe Judge has gotten this past month, and he's going to get killed nationally after the QB sneaks, what GM would take this gig with Joe Judge? Blake, I don't know, man. To be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, well, I shouldn't say I don't know. There's going to be somebody who takes a job. I mean, in the NFL, there's only 32 jobs, and GM jobs don't come around every year. So if a guy's an opportunity to take a job, they're going to take the job. But the best guys are not going to be rushing to take this job. That's at least my opinion on it. Jimin says, what's up? Top 3 least favorite Getty moves. Is it taking Jones, drafting Barkley, trading Beckham, signing Solder, Will Hernandez? What's yours? No, I know some Giants fans may kill me for this because everybody loves Beckham. I still don't think that was a horrible move. I really don't. It didn't work out because we didn't hit on our draft picks, but it didn't really work out for either team. I would not put that near my top 3. Some of the other things you said there, drafting Barkley is undeniably, and it's not Barkley's fault, but not trading down in that draft was a bad move. There was everything he did in 2018 was a disaster. I mean, and I'll go over it in my video when I do it, but 2018 was the Nate Solder signing. And I understood the Nate Solder signing, if you're being as fair as you can, but it was a disaster. I'm not going to say Will Hernandez was one of his worst 3 moves because it was a second-round pick, but it has not worked out. The DeAndre Baker, trading up for DeAndre Baker, that's probably up there for me. I would say trading up for Baker. I would say drafting Saquon Barkley, not trading down with that pick, not starting the rebuild when he should have would definitely be near the top for me. And now that signing a Kenny Golladay looks like a disaster, and not necessarily Galladay's fault, but the fact they didn't have the team situated to support the guy. $18 million a year salary for a wide receiver that's caught 0 touchdowns his first year with the New York Giants. Like, now you're going to be committed to this guy for the next 2 years. So that's probably up there as well. But there are so many moves that you could point to that have been bad. But Jay, man, thank you very much. Let's see what we got here. Yuri says, I like Dean, but people are sleeping on Christian Harris and Henry. I don't know who that is. Inside linebackers from Alabama. We could pick up him in the 2nd or the 3rd. Yeah, Dean, I like the kid out of Utah. That's my favorite. Lloyd, so far that I've seen at least. I like him more than Dean. He's really impressive when I watch some highlight film on him. But those are the 2 top linebackers. I'll do more research on the 2nd and 3rd round prospects. I do think linebacker is definitely a position that the New York Giants are going to have to focus strongly on this offseason, for sure. I think it's definitely one of the positions they're going to have to focus strongly on. I think it's arguably our biggest need outside of edge rusher on defense. And Selmo says, supposed to be a top-heavy edge class. I think we need to grab one with our top 2 picks. We can't have Aziz as the only competent edge rusher. I would not be against that at all. You take an edge with one, you take offensive lineman with the other, and then you take a lineman with your second-round pick. I'd be okay with that. I just know that they have to address the offensive line early in this year's draft. But if you could get yourself a transcendent edge rusher, we know that we struggle in terms of getting pressure on the quarterback routinely, so you need that. You look at the best teams in the league. They get after the quarterback. We know that as Giants fans. You have to be able to get after the quarterback. So if you get a top-tier edge rusher, you feel one of these guys could be that guy, you take him. You just definitely have to take at least one lineman in the first round. V-Rock says, would you sign Smith? Yeah, I have no problem signing Smith. You're talking about the guy we brought in from the Cowboys. I have no problem signing Smith. Am I going to bank on him in terms of being the starter next year? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to bring in a guy that, via the draft, whatever. But he's a guy that was thought to be done by both the Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers. They cut him after like 2 weeks. I'm not going to bank on him being the every game starter going into next year. Is he a guy that could come in and provide his depth and potential competition? Sure. But I'm not going to bank on him being the starter to start the year. But I have no problem bringing him back. I think he's played hard. I think he's played well. Hakeem says, let's be brutally honest. Do you genuinely believe Mara will hire a competent enough staff that will bring us to the Super Bowl in the next 4 years? Honestly, no. No, that's being brutally honest. I mean, I hope, and all I can do as a fan is hope and hope that, and I'm going to, whoever they hire, I'm going to give a chance. I'm going to give 110% a chance. And I'm not going to be super judgmental on the GM the first year, probably even the second year. I'm going to let his plan play out. I'm going to let him bring in his players and let him build the team the way that he feels. But how can I feel confident the way that this team has been over the last 10 years? Do I think eventually it's going to get better? Yeah. They have to hit on these draft picks and they have to start building this team the right way. My opinion may change on that, though. Ask me that after the draft. Let me see who they bring in. Let me see how the players are starting to perform. Let me see who the head coach is. I might feel much differently about this team in 2 weeks when I find out who the GM is going to be and the head coach is going to be. So let me see who they bring in first before, but right now, how could I say yes to that? And thank you, man. Ontario says great content. I appreciate that, man. Sorry I conked out on you guys. That happens every now and again when I do the live streams. I'm going to be doing several videos for you guys though this offseason. Me personally, after the games, I like to go live. I like to talk to you guys. I know, we have a lot on our minds and we want to use this kind of as a therapy session or whatever. So I like going live with you guys for a couple of hours after the game and just, talking about whatever. And obviously now the season's over. So we're talking about the off season and talking about, what we want to see this team do going forward. But thank you, man. I appreciate it. Do you think we will get a better backup this year? Who do you think we would be able to pick up? Yeah, I get asked this question a lot. Yes, I absolutely. Well, here's what I'll say. Regardless, I think we're getting a better backup. I think there's 2 options that the Giants are going to push forward with. One's going to be Daniel Jones. The other is going to be drafting a quarterback. I think that's your only 2 options. I don't think they're going to trade for Deshaun Watson. I don't think they're going to trade for Russell Wilson. I think they're either going to push forward with Jones or they're going to draft a rookie quarterback. In both circumstances, I think they would want to bring in a good backup quarterback, whether it be somebody that could push Jones or come in for Jones if Jones goes down with an injury, or say you draft a quarterback, which if they do, I have to hope that the GM is right, whoever they bring in. Say they draft Kenny Pickett, I think they're going to bring in a legitimate quarterback that could even potentially start the season for the first 4 or 5 weeks and kind of give Pickett the reins as the season gets underway. But regardless, I think the Giants are going to have an upgrade at the backup quarterback position going into next year. In terms of some of the names, I mean, Tyrod Taylor's a name people bring up. Marcus Mariota's a name people bring up. Andy Dalton's a name people bring up. I'm trying to think. Mitch Trubisky. Obviously, you're not going to get a starter. You're going to get a fringe starter. A starter's going to. He's not going to come in here to be a backup. So you get a fringe starter, a guy that maybe a Teddy Bridgewater, someone like that. Those are some of the free agents that are out there. But yeah, I think regardless, we're going to have an upgrade, regardless of who's going to be the starting quarterback going into next year. Blake says Lloyd out of Utah has an elite mind and instincts and is the most and is the best prototypical middle linebacker in this. I love him. I've had a couple of subscribers point him out to me. I've watched 5 or 6 of his highlight films on YouTube. I freaking love him. I don't want to compare him to Micah Parsons because Micah Parsons has been otherworldly this year, but he reminds me of him in terms of his style of play. I'm a big fan of Lloyd. And if you could get Lloyd, I just think right now, Blake, based on where we're picking, I don't think we'll take Lloyd. I think if we trade back, he becomes an option. And maybe we will. Maybe there'll be a team that wants to trade up and get a quarterback. I don't think we'll take Lloyd in the top 7, but he's definitely a guy that may raise his stock due to the combine. But if we trade back into that 12 to 13 area, I think he becomes more of a possibility. But I'm a big fan of his. I think he's really good from what I've seen so far. And Nate, thank you very much, man. What's up, Dana? Finally, this horror movie has an end. I'm low-key hyped for the next weeks with the GM and head coaching search and draft. But knowing our franchise, they're going to punch us in the face for 60 days, 60 years. That's the way it's felt. That's the way it's felt since I've been on YouTube, Nate. I just hope it gets better, man. And I hope they finally do what I always want them to do. And that's always draft the offensive line. And what's so encouraging is most years I usually get kickback from fans, and I'm definitely getting some of it. You're definitely getting some fans that want to go quarterback. Most fans this year want to go offensive line, and most fans want to double up on the offensive line. At least that's what I found. Not just fans, but content creators. Fist Vegas, so I went on his channel like 2-3 weeks ago. He told me, and he hates the offensive line. He used to laugh at me whenever I would say that we need to take one. Like, he didn't want Andrew Thomas. He didn't want it the left tackle in that draft. He wants to take 2 offensive linemen in the first round. Bad Dog wants to take 2 offensive linemen in the first round. Bad Dog's usually a defense guy. He's usually not a guy that's on board with that. And the fans, when you talk to them on Twitter, the majority of them, they want to double up on that line. They want to get this problem solved. They want to get this problem fixed. And I think this draft, and I'll talk about it a lot more in the offseason with the videos that I make and so on and so forth. I think it's the opportunity to do it, because this draft, it's thought to be pretty weak at the quarterback position. It's thought to be pretty weak at the wide receiver position. It's thought to be pretty strong in terms of the offensive line. If the Giants are thinking long-term and you could sew up the line this year and get 2 premier players, I think this is the year to do it. It's long-term thinking. You start building your team. So when you bring in your future quarterback, when you bring in your future wide receivers, they have a better opportunity to succeed. So I think this is the year to do it. And I think most Giant fans are on board with that. Now, you can't force it. If you love a defensive prospect, I'm not telling you not to take them, but I think it's an option that should be on the table, is doubling up on the line and making sure you get that thing situated long-term. RB says, Judge can't come back. We need Harbaugh, and he could bring in Vic Fangio. Oh, dude, if they did that, forget about it. Coaching was the biggest problem. Brooklyn Nets bring a ring. Dude, RB Brooklyn, if we ever got Vic Fangio to be the defensive coordinator with Jim Harbaugh, oh, my God, I'd be in heaven, man. Sign me the hell up with that, man. Big Daddy says, worst season in 60 years because of expectations. I think you can at least make the case. People say that to me a lot. I still think it's 2017, but it's damn close, Big Daddy. I'll say that. 2017, because you were coming off the playoffs. You won 11-5. The defense looked like the best in the league the second half of the season. And you figured that they only improved the offense because they signed Brandon Marshall. They drafted Evan Ingram. And you had to figure that the defense was going to come back strong, and the team completely laid an egg. They went 3-13. Again, much like this season, a ton of injuries. And they just failed to meet expectations. Then you had the Eli Manning thing where we benched him for Geno Smith, and the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So I don't think this year will top 2017 for me in terms of the worst season since I've been a fan for me, but it's second, and it's really bad. It's really bad. And I don't even think it's debatable since I've been watching the team, the 2 worst seasons, and I've been watching the team since like the mid-90s. The 2 worst seasons have been 2017 and this year, and that's 2 out of the last, 4 years? It's been a disaster. It's been an absolute disaster. But thank you, Big Daddy. Let's see what we got. And Sports Critic says there better not be any optimistic fans during the offseason. Only realistic fans, tired of Giants fans, think this team is going to be amazing. And we're not going to be amazing next year. But let's see what they do. Let's see the GM they bring in. Let's see the head coach they bring in. I'm going to give them a chance. I'm going to give them a chance to build the team and coach the team. I'm not going to be a guy that's going to look to completely bash the team any opportunity I get. But I'm also going to try to temper my own expectations as a fan. And I'm going to go in with a realistic approach and know that it's not going to happen in 1 year. But the first thing, Amir, is let's see what they do. Let's see if they do what I think most fans think they should do and start building this team properly. Bring in the best GM you can. Let him pick the head coach. Let the GM make the decisions. Don't put anything on the GM's plate. That's what they should do. Let's see if they do it. Kishore says, what will happen first? Playoffs for the New York Giants or 10 to the Hall of Fame? Eli will be eligible in this is now 2 years, so he's not for another 3 years is he eligible. And as much as I love Eli, I don't think he'll get in the first ballot, even though I think he should. But when you look back at the history of the quarterback positions, they typically don't get in the first ballot, even if they're really good. Like, you have to be the top of the top. So I don't think he'll get in the first ballot. He will get in. It might take 2 years, might take 3 years. I hope we get to the playoffs before then, because you're talking 5-6 years probably from now that Eli will go into the Hall of Fame. And I'll definitely be there for that. I'll be live streaming at that. That's one event that I will not miss at Canton, Ohio. And J-Man says, what do we do at quarterback, Chris? Let's be honest. The quickest road to long-term success would be to trade for Watson, not Wilson. And we probably get him for, I don't know. I think it would take a lot more than a second for Deshaun Watson. And I know he's got issues off the field, but I think it'd take a lot more than a second for Deshaun Watson. Outside of that, I listen, J-Man J, if again, there's a lot of variables that go into the Deshaun Watson thing because of the off the field stuff. And knowing the Giants, and I can't blame him. I mean, you look at the things this guy's been accused of off the field. But knowing the Giants, I'd be surprised if they look to bring in a player like that. I would. As a fan, would I be excited if they brought in Deshaun Watson? Yeah. The guy is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL, but I don't see it happening. And I don't think we're going to trade for Russell Wilson. And at this point, I don't think it's the right decision. I don't. I just don't. I'm not about the quick fix. I'm about building the team the right way. Russell Wilson this year, you know, if everybody thinks that Russell Wilson, they could come in here and wave a magic wand and get this team to be really good. Russell Wilson this year won, what, 5 games? 6 games? With the Seattle Seahawks? He'd be coming into a mess of a football team, tons of injury-prone players, an offensive line that can't block. You're going to have to give up multiple first-round picks. You're going to have to take on his salary. He's going to be 33 years old. I don't think that's the right approach. I think the right approach, as much as it may suck for some fans to hear, is to start building the offensive line and start setting it up for the future quarterback to come in here and succeed. And then if next year you're not in a position to trade up for a quarterback, maybe then you look to go outside the organization. If you feel like you can't draft a quarterback early in the draft, maybe then if you feel like you have the support system at that point, if this offensive line starts to improve and maybe you hit on some draft picks and some of these younger players improve, maybe then if there's an opportunity, you go out there and do trade for your quarterback. If you feel like you can't trade up and get the rookie quarterback of your choosing, I just don't think it's the right year to do it. Now, Deshaun Watson, that's a different animal. He's 25 years old. But I just don't see it happening. I don't see the Giants doing it. So I don't even want to put the thought in my head because I don't think they're going to do it. Dutch Thunderman, thank you very much, man. There are rumors Kevin Cole, that's the he's a guard. Oh no, I'm thinking of Austin. Austin Colbert, I think, right? Oh, he's a Steelers guy. Yeah, you're a big Steelers fan. Steelers GM Kevin Colbert expected to retire. Well, if he's retiring, he's not going to be available. If he's truly retiring, I just looked it up now. They said he's retiring. And I, as a Steelers fan, man, he's done a hell of a job for you guys. I don't know the inner workings of your team the way you do, but the way that the Steelers find a way to be competitive year in and year out, I'm in shock how they're able to do that. John, man, thank you very much, man. Mara definitely got a taste of what the stadium will look like in 2022 if he brings Joe Judge back. I hope he is at least a smart businessman and fire Joe Judge tonight. I want Tyler and Nakobe Dean, but if Neil is there, him and Tyler. Yeah, phew. You get those two. I'm in love with that. As far as I don't think, I could be wrong, John. Regardless of what happens this offseason, whether or not they bring back Judge or not, I still think you're gonna have a filled stadium to start the year. There's so many people that love this team. They'll go to the games at least to start. But if the team falls apart, much like today, you'll have an empty stadium. You'll have an upset fan base. And what I will say is I don't see the sale. It's what I said at the start of this stream. I don't see the sales pitch. And maybe, and again, I'm going to look at the chat right now because I'm curious to get your guys' mindset on this. I am running a little bit behind on Super Chats. I will get to them. I don't see the sale. Like what? Somebody sell Joe Judge for me. Pretend you're John Mara and sell Joe Judge for me. What's the sales pitch? What convinces fans that that's the right decision going into next year? And don't just tell me that you can't fire another head coach after 2 years. Give me something more than that. What's the sales pitch? But yeah, I am running. I do run behind on Super Chats. I apologize. I'll get to him though. And let me get to Nate real quick. He's 37. That's your sales pitch. His age. He could improve as a head coach. That's fair, Jai. Okay. That at least that's something. He's young. It's something. I can't sell nothing on Judge. Okay, here I'm selling Joe Judge. He will get top 5 picks in the next draft. Yeah. I don't know. I don't. We're building a culture. That's not doing it for me. That's not doing it for me. Drafting, I guess. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Nate, man, thank you very much, man. Double up on the O-line sounds good, but do we really want a Linderbaum Green at 7 or 8? Cross at 5, in on that, but then I take Karlaftis or trade back. I mean, in an ideal world, Nate, I would love to be able to trade back and still get a guy like Linderbaum or Kenyon Green or whoever. But if you feel Linderbaum's a transcendent talent at the center, I'm not upset if they take him at 7. I know centers have never gone that high, and I know people talk about positional value. In an ideal world, I agree with you, Nate. Trade back. And again, if Kyle Hamilton's there and you feel, and I'm not a guy that's about safeties. I know people feel he's the best overall defensive player in this draft. If he's there, I can't cry on draft night if they take a guy who's supposed to be the best player in this draft. But yeah, in an ideal world, Nate, trade back, get future draft capital, and still get your offensive lineman. I think that's perfect for the Giants in this year's draft. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that because most people feel the quarterbacks in this draft are not the strongest. But that could change quickly. That could change quickly leading up into the draft. We know that after the combine and everything else, and maybe the Giants are a team that's interested in one of these quarterbacks. We don't know. We still got a long way to go. We got 3 months before the draft. So we'll see. Or, 3 months. So we'll see. Yeah, that's all I can say. We'll see. But I wouldn't be upset if they took 2 offensive linemen in the top 7. I just wouldn't. OGR says, hey, good news because of the Giants being so bad. I won $200 this season because of them. There you go, OGR. What's up, Jeff? Hey, listen, man. If I was about today, I bet against them. It was the first time that sports betting was legal in New York because my heart's completely detached from this team. I knew we were going to lose today. This is the first time I bet this year because I said I'll have some fun. They finally legalized it in New York, but yeah, that was easy money the last 5 or 6 weeks after Jones went down. Zai, man, thank you very much. Problem is we have Vin Diesel as the owner. Cares more about family than football, Zahib says. Yeah, he's loyal to a fault. I think a lot of people have said that in the past, and I think that's a fair criticism. Big Daddy says, I had no expectation. Really? Interesting, because I think most people did. So I give you credit. I think most people did going into that year. I don't know. I don't think I was as high on them as because you heard ESPN saying they were Super Bowl candidates. I wasn't that high on the team, but I definitely thought they'd be a playoff team going into the year. Jason says, guys, I'm also a lifelong Michigan fan. Harbaugh is not the answer. He's had a lot of losing seasons until he got comparable personnel. He is not Tomlin. He never had a losing season with Michigan. Now, I outside of the pandemic year last year, but I don't really count that, where they went 2-4. But maybe when you say losing season, underwhelming season with Michigan. His first 2 years there, he went 10-3. He was a combined 20-6 his first 2 years with Michigan. The previous 3 years combined, I think they were 20-18. Before he got there. Now, what I will say, the one big knock on Harbaugh that Michigan fans say, he has not found a way to beat their arch nemesis outside of this year. And that's why people were talking about moving on from him, going into this year. He struggled against Ohio State, didn't have the best track record against Michigan State. People said he beat up on lollipops. Maybe you're talking about conference record. I don't know. But he never had a losing season outside of the pandemic year in terms of overall record. I think he's a good coach, but I get it. Talking Eco says, my motto for 2023, as MJ said, expect disappointment and you'll never get disappointed. Yeah, that's such a good movie, man. I love that movie. But yeah, I'm going to go in very humbled going into next year. I'll tell you that right now, regardless of what happens. I'll have excitement if I'm excited about the head coach they bring in and the general manager that they bring in. But I'm going to temper my expectations going into next year. Just says, anyone we need to re-sign that is going to be a free agent, what are we most likely going to do for cap space? Let me just take a quick sip of water here. I mean, I don't think we need to re-sign anybody. And I'm not going to go over every free agent. I did a video on this, though, where I talked about there's 4 main guys, and that's Will Hernandez, that's Jabril Peppers, that's Evan Ingram, and that's Lorenzo Carter. I don't think we need to re-sign any of them. I think the one guy that is potentially could be brought back if the deal makes sense is Lorenzo Carter. I don't think we're bringing back Ingram. I don't think we're bringing back Peppers. And I don't think we're bringing back Will Hernandez. As far as the cap space goes, there's several players we could cut. Riley Dixon being one of them. They will cut him. Same could be said for Rudolph. They're definitely going to cut him. That's going to save $5 million. Some of the bigger names, Martinez, Bradbury, are options due to how much it would save. Or they could try to rework the contract, but they're gonna be able to figure out the cap and give themselves a little bit of flexibility. They're not gonna be able to go on a spending spree, but they'll be able to do some things. Justin, let's see. Sports Critic says, "I'm with you, Chris. I just want what is best for the team. The GM they hire will tell us a lot of the direction of this team." Yeah, I'm the same, man. I'm gonna go in giving this guy an opportunity. I'm gonna be just as fair to the new GM as I was to Gettleman. I'm gonna give him 2.5, 3 years to work out his plan. Like a lot of people, and I understand it, and obviously they've been proven right. Completely were out on Gettleman after 2018. It was a disaster. I tried to give him more time because I put a lot of that on Mara. That was just my honest belief. 2019, I would have fired him after 2019 when they fired Shermer. I wouldn't have fired Shermer, but once they did, I would have fired him. I would have started completely from scratch. 2020 was a pretty good year, and this year's been a disaster. I'm going to give the new GM at least 3 years, to build this team, and I'm going to hope that he does the job the right way. Let's see what we got here. Clock says, been a fan since 1970. You're correct. 17 worst, 21 second. Yeah, I mean, I think you can make arguments for both, Clock. I think you can make arguments for both. I'm not saying anybody's wrong for thinking this has been more disappointing, but for me, it's 17. And I don't even think it's close for me. I think 17 was by far the worst when you factor in everything. But this year's really bad. So I understand. And maybe it's recency bias. But it's really bad. Big Daddy says 2017 they drafted Ingram. I want to teach. Oh, dude, horrible pick. Ryan Ramczyk even would have been a really good pick. Ryan Ramczyk's been one of the better interior offensive linemen in football. Some people have said that the TJ Watt pick passing on him was understandable because I think he had like injury concerns. I don't remember off the top of my head. But even if that was the case and they were worried about his injuries, you could have taken Ramczyk, who ended up being a great offensive lineman. Taking a tight end who couldn't block was just a disaster of a pick. Robert says, when we couldn't block. Robert says, does Judge get special teams job next? If Judge is fired by the Giants, which I don't know if he's going to be, I think he's going to do what all the ex-Belichick guys do. I think he's going to go crawling home to daddy. Joe, if the Giants fire Judge, which again, I don't know what's going to happen. The second he's fired, hey, Bill, you need any help over there? Make me that wide receiver coach again. Make me the special team. He's going to do what they all do. He's going to do what McDaniels did. He's going to do what Patricia did. He's going to go back to New England, and he's going to try to build his resume again. Robert says, does Judge... Oh, I already read that. Paul says, looking back, do you wish the Giants would have taken Parsons in last year's draft, rather than trading back with the Bears? I mean, either or, Slater or Parsons. But yes, my answer is yes. But to me, I can't complain about it yet until I see what they do with this draft pick. If they hit on a slam dunk player and Tony becomes a great wide receiver, it's the kind of trade that you can't really analyze for another 3 or 4 years. But if you told me right now, what would you rather have today? A no-doubt left tackle in Rashawn Slater or a no-doubt defensive presence in Micah Parsons or a potential player at number 7 and Kadarius Toney, I'm taking the no-doubt Micah Parsons or Rashawn Slater. Rashawn Slater, you could argue, is one of the top 3 or 4 tackles in football. And Micah Parsons, you could argue, is one of the top 5 defensive players in football. So, yeah, I would take that option because you have a proven commodity. But again, let's see what they do in the draft. Let's see what they hit on with that player. But yes. And then the other thing I say to people when we get into these debates, if the Chargers were to trade Rashawn Slater today, they're getting at least 2 first-round picks, if not more. And you could say the same thing about Micah Parsons. So when you talk about value that you got, well, you also have to factor in what those players' value is now that you decided not to draft with that pick. So that's my take on that. Boxing, man, thank you very much, man. How about acquiring Trubisky? I think Trubisky's a perfect fit if they're going to stick with Jones. And some people may laugh at that because Trubisky's obviously been known as a bust. But I think he's a perfect fit. And I've talked about that. I also like, there's several guys I like, but Trubisky might be my favorite in terms of a backup quarterback, a potential guy that could come in here and compete with Jones. He has a similar skill set. He's mobile. I think he's a good fit if they're going to stick with Jones to be the backup going into next year. And it may be an attractive destination for Trubisky because he may feel it's an opportunity where if Jones struggles or gets hurt, he could have an opportunity to step in and prove his worth. So I think Trubisky's an interesting name this offseason in terms of a potential backup quarterback. Because generally when you look for backup quarterbacks, you look for guys that are similar to your starter. Like that's what the Ravens did. But let's see who the OC is. Let's see how they build the offense, what their plan's going to be. Blake says, how does Saquon feel that Joe Judge doesn't trust him to get a single yard when they did the QB sneaks? Yeah, to me, I mean, I don't know if that's anything on Saquon, that play in particular. I just think at that point, they just felt like that was the safest way that they know they're going to get at least a yard or 2 to give their punter some more room. I don't know. Regardless, it was a ridiculous play call. And that I put more on Judge than I do Kitchens. I think that was a Judge decision. That, like, an offensive coordinator, more often than not, is not going to draw up a play for a QB sneak on 3rd and 9 from his own 4 unless the head coach has some influence on that. At least that's my opinion on the matter. Now, the play earlier in the game, I put that on Kitchens. The end around to whoever it was, Bachman, I think it was. That I thought was more Kitchens that I would put the blame on. But the QB sneaks, that was all conservative, Joe, in my opinion. But I don't know. Did he stream? No, I'm not going to stream the Sunday night game. I will be doing the playoff games, though. Not all of them, but a handful of them. V-Rock says Ryan Fitzpatrick for a year. I mean, Fitzpatrick retired. Fitzpatrick retired. So I don't think he'll be coming back. Richard says Paul Schwartz and Ralph Vacchiano think Judge is gone. Whoa. Hold on. Now, Ralph Vacchiano, and that's a great game tonight, Cowboys Nation, by the way. Ralph Vacchiano has been a guy that has been outspoken in saying that they, even up till today, that said that he thought that they were going to keep Judge. Whoa, hold on one second. Let me take a quick look here. I think he's gone. I think Judge is gone. And I thought that before I heard this, but I'm not saying definitively, but I'm leaning that way. Let's see what Ralph said. Willie Stair go. Joe Judge ends his second season on far shakier ground than he expected. Well, that doesn't. Let me read the article. I think this is just opinion based. I think it's just opinion based. Please God let we'll see, man. We'll see. Do we kidnap Dan Campbell? Wolf says, do we kidnap Dan Campbell? I don't think they're gonna let Dan. I don't think they're gonna let check U Stadium Twitter. He's a Jets fan, that guy. Let me see. I don't think they're gonna let Dan Campbell leave Detroit. He just got there. Let me see here. Source, the feeling in the Giants building is that Joe Judge will be let go. Now, U Stadium is not, I mean, he's got 36,000 followers. Take it for what you will. It could be just a guy on Twitter looking to gain followers, looking to gain traction, throwing out rumors. Until this comes from like a credible person like Jordan Renan, like, you know, obviously an Ian Rappaport, we'll see. But at least according to U Stadium, who, like I said, he's a Jet fan. He does post updates on Twitter. He said according to, but we'll see. We'll see. There's no check mark. There's no check mark. Goat World says that guy's hit on some stuff. I will say. We'll see. I'm not going to make a video on anything like that. I will wait. At this point, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Like, we know we're going to get our answer sooner than later, what they're going to do with the head coach. So I'm sure you're going to have a lot of people. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of people on Twitter that are going to try to gain traction and throw out false rumors and throw out what they think is going to happen and claim that they have sources. So we'll see what happens soon. Randy, man, thank you so much, man, for the $2 donation. I appreciate it, man. I got Miami and New England on in the background, by the way. I bet New England. I teased them down. This is not looking good right now. They were down 17-0. I teased them down to a pick 'em. It was a 6-point spread that they were favored by with the Giants. They were down 17-0. Now they're down 17-7. They're approaching the red zone with 10 minutes to go in the third. So hoping New England can win. Don, man, thank you very much, man. I heard Nick Gates had 7 surgeries since getting hurt. Just another reason why Tyler Linderbaum, after taking either Evan Neal or Ichem. Yeah, listen, a lot of people have brought up Nick Gates, and they've said that he's, that they think he could come back and be a starter next year. I'm not banking on that. Like you said, the guy's had 7 surgeries. I love Nick Gates. He's one of my favorite players on the team. Do I think New York Giants fans overrate him a little bit? I do. I think he's a solid lineman. I don't think he's anything spectacular. And the fact that he's coming back, like you said, from a serious injury like that, you don't know if he's ever going to be the same player again. We can't bank on him to come back and be this really good lineman for the Giants next year. He was an undrafted free agent to begin with. If he pans out, fantastic. But you definitely need to bring in some talent at the position. Chris, you still, Greg, if I'm not, I think I will be doing What Do You Say, but if I'm not, I'll definitely be doing Mets content on the channel in season. Big Daddy says picks are 4th and 8th. Neil, I think it's going to be 4th and 7th, Big Daddy. When I look at the tiebreakers, I think, and we'll find out at the end of these games, but based off of strength of schedule, I think it's going to be 5th and 7th. I think the Jets will lose, which will knock us back to 5th. And I think the Bears pick is going to be 7. I think it's going to be 5 and 7. Rolly, man, thank you very much, man. This has to be one of the toughest as a Giants fan. To everyone in the chat, they called me negative for 3 years. I didn't want to be that, but I saw where this organization was going, and now we are here. Hey, man, people that were negative at it, every reason to be negative. I mean, it's just an opinion at the end of the day. I think there are some fans that tried to give them an opportunity. There were some fans that wanted to have hope, and there were some fans that saw no hope at the end of the tunnel. And fans like you, Roldy, were right. I'll never be critical about that. You were right. Dave Gettleman failed. I wanted him to succeed. I wanted to give him an opportunity. I did. I felt like I gave him as much time as I possibly could, and he failed. It's time to move on. It's time for a new GM. It's time for a new head coach. As New England's going to have to kick a field goal, 8:58 to go in the third. It'll be 17-10. But he failed, man. Conway, yeah, it's time to clean house, man. Hey, Chris, I think the Giants need to get, let's see. Giants need to sign a veteran guard, backup quarterback, and a third down running back. Definitely need to get another running back. I think we'll draft the running back, though. I really do. I don't think we may sign a running back also, but I think we'll draft the running back at some point in this year's draft, like at the back end of the draft. Jets actually have more upside than the Giants, assuming. I agree. Jets have a really good future, in my opinion. Obviously, a lot depends on, Zach Wilson and how he matures as a quarterback. But I think they have more potential because of their draft capital and their cap situation right now, at least. Paul Schwartz, let me take a quick look on Twitter. That could change quick, though, in the NFL. Let me take a quick look at Paul Schwartz. Paul Schwartz, of course, a writer for the New York Post. He has a check mark. Giant schedule. I already knew that. Well, the schedule may have altered today based off the we got screwed, man. Because the Ravens lost. We're going to play the Ravens now instead of the Browns or the Steelers. That we actually got bad luck because you have to figure the Ravens will be good next year. We're going to be home against the Bears, Lions, Texans, Colts, Panthers, Ravens. Plus their 3 NFC East rivals, the Eagles, Cowboys, and Washington. The road will be Green Bay, Jacksonville, Minnesota, Tennessee, and Seattle, Philadelphia, Dallas, and Washington. Joe Judge said he learned a lot last year as far as what he did as a coach. I see nothing about Joe Judge, so I don't know if that's what you're talking about, the schedule tweet. We got screwed on the Ravens. I didn't want the Ravens. I think the Browns would have been much more winnable than the Ravens. Isaac, man, he says, I just read the Vacchiano report, and if true, it might be the worst case scenario. Apparently, Judge wants Abrams as the next GM. Yeah, I saw that on the Fox pregame today. What's his name came out and said, Jay Glazer came out and said that I don't care what Joe Judge wants. Joe Judge is not the owner, and Joe Judge has not earned the right to be able to bring in the GM that he wants. And if I was Joe Judge, that is the exact guy that I would want. Because I'm going to tell you what would happen if we kept Joe Judge and we hired Kevin Abrams. Joe Judge would be the general manager. Joe Judge would be the general manager. Kevin Abrams would be the dollars and cents guy. I'm not saying he wouldn't have any personnel say, but Joe Judge would have a ton of influence in terms of the direction of this football team, in terms of the draft picks and everything else. So that gives Joe Judge the most stability. So, of course, Joe Judge would want an in-house hire. I don't care what Joe Judge wants. Decision ain't up to Joe Judge. I want my mom as GM. She thinks I'm a great coach. Yeah. What's going on, man? Thanks for popping in, man. Paul Schwartz says he's hearing it is becoming more likely Judge will be fired. Okay, I missed that, Mary. So, okay, I missed that. WBG on Twitter. Okay, let me take a quick look. WBG's a cool guy. He's not an insider, but he reports on things that he hears and sees from insiders. Okay. According to New York Post Paul Schwartz, there was a growing sense. Okay. So this is coming out from the New York Post. According to Paul Schwartz, there is a growing sense that the Giants will move on from head coach Joe Judge. So there you go. I mean, nothing official at all. And Paul Schwartz works for the New York Post. So take that with a grain of salt. Like, the New York Post is not like the most credible newspaper. And they've definitely said some things in the past that make me scratch my head. But I guess it gives you some hope. Wolves, man, thank you very much. This just got me talking, but thoughts on Zimmer here. Yeah, a lot of people have talked about Zimmer. Zimmer's been with, let me take a, I know he's been with Minnesota for a while. Let me take a quick look at Zimmer. Zimmer's been with Minnesota now for, been there for a while, 2014 to 2021. Of course, had a couple of good years with the Vikings. They went to the NFC title game the one year with the Stephon Diggs play. Obviously also had ties to Shermer. Shermer was a coach underneath Zimmer. Zimmer's a defensive guy, right? Yeah, he was a defensive coordinator for the Bengals for 6 years, and the Falcons for a year. Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator in 2000 to 2006. So he's a defensive-minded guy. I mean, Zimmer's a guy that has proven that he's been able to be a solid head coach in the NFL. Probably not my first choice, and I've talked about what I would want. And again, if they hire Mike Zimmer, I hope he does a good job. I want more of an offensively driven head coach. That's what I want. I think that's where the league is headed. That's what I would want. I would want more of an offensively minded head coach. But Zimmer's a solid head coach. J-Man says, doesn't Neal have injury concerns similar to Becton? I mean, his weight. People worry about the potential injury concerns because of his weight. And I think his weight's fluctuated. I'm going to do a lot more research on him leading up into the draft, but I think I've read that. I think when he came in, and maybe somebody in the chat knows this, I think I read somewhere that when Neal came in, he weighed like almost 400 pounds. Now I think he weighs about 360. But I think he's similar to Becton, where there was a concern about his weight fluctuation in college. I think it's the same for Neal. And obviously he's huge. He's like 6'7", 360. So people naturally worry, could he have injury problems? Shaw says, according to me, Joe Judge has a 50% chance of being fired. I would say the same. According to me, I agree. It's the same for me, about 50%. Pimp name Slickback says, Paul Schwartz just said Judge is gone. Yeah, I just read it. We'll see. He didn't say he's gone, at least from what I'm reading. He said there's growing sense that they will move on from him. I'll believe it when I see it. I think it's the right decision, and I'm not normally a guy that's calling for people to lose their jobs. I think in this scenario, it's the right decision. And we'll see what they do, man. But we'll see. If we get more, I'm sure we'll get more excited during the stream. We're not going to go forever, though. Albin says, keep an eye on Ferguson, a tight end from Wisconsin, running back from BYU. Let me take a screenshot. Well, I talk to you on the Discord from time to time, Albin, so you could definitely tell me about these guys. I do think we need a tight end. I don't want to take one earlier than probably round 3. But I do think we need a tight end in this draft, and I'll definitely be looking into tight end prospects because I think Ingram's gone, and I think Rudolph's gone. I think we're going to cut Rudolph. I think Ingram's going to become a free agent and sign elsewhere. So that's definitely going to be a need for this team in the draft next year. But I don't think I'd want to take one before the 3rd round. We have 2 third-round picks. I'd be completely open to taking one with one of those 2 picks. Yeah, Paul Schwartz didn't tweet that himself. It was – let me read the article. You know what? Let's pull up the article real quick. Rather than taking somebody else's interpretation from the article, let's pull up the article. Hold on. Let me pull up the article. Let me just get rid of this. Share screen. And then you guys can get your own interpretation from the article. Share. All right, so this is the New York Post article that came out from, oh, wait. When I went to click it, hold on one second. I'll get it. I just got to get rid of this, and I got to share the New York Post screen. Hold on one second. Let's read the article. Here's the New York Post article. This is coming out from Paul Schwartz. Giants season ends in a dismal loss to Washington with Joe Judge's decision looming. It's all about Joe Judge now. The Giants mercifully ended their horrid season with Sunday losing 22-7 to Washington in front of the smallest gathering, cannot call it a crowd, in MetLife Stadium history. General Manager Dave Gettleman will announce his retirement Monday, ending his failed 4-year run. And then comes the big decision looming over the entire organization. Does Joe Judge stay or go? There is a growing sense the Giants will move on from him. So no, he didn't take anything out of context. That's exactly what Paul Schwartz said. Let's read the rest of it. Around Christmas, Giants ownership was feeling good about bringing Judge back for a third year. The one caveat, the team could not devolve into a laughingstock down the stretch of the season. Since then, nothing has gone right for Judge as the team lost its last 6 games by a combined score of 163-56 and closed out at 4-13 the season by often not putting a competitive product on the field. Judge lost his quarterback, Daniel Jones, to a sprained neck, and without him, the offense went from bad to inept, averaging 9.3 points a game in their final 6 games. Judge did not help himself at all with his 11-minute rant. And to me, and I'm sure we know what else he's going to say. So, no, he did say that there's been a growing thought that they could move on from Joe Judge. And he makes it sound like it's maybe probable at this point. And to me, when I thought that it became a somewhat of high probability was that 11-minute rant. I think before then, I think like once this became like a national story, that's when I started to believe that it was possible they'd move on from Judge. Had the ESPNs of the world not gotten, their teeth sunk into this, I don't think Mara would have felt enough pressure to make this move. But once Judge went on his 11-minute tirade and he got destroyed by ESPN, by Fox Sports, by national media, not just the fans and the beat reporters, that's when I thought that it's potentially was going to be enough pressure for John Mara to make a move with the head coach. So we'll see if that's what eventually does Joe Judge in. Wolf says, when Judge asks, why am I being fired? Mara will say, I don't know. I have to review the tape. There you go. Rolly says, Chris, you got to get my boy Walt, a.k.a. WBG, on your show. I've known him for 4 years now, and he has great insight. Every draft, he sends me prospects, game films, and he's a great dude. Yeah. Oh, definitely I'm on when it's more relevant. I think, like you said, when the draft isn't near. I talked to him. He told me he's that's not really his thing. He doesn't like to come on podcast, but anybody's always more than welcome to come on. But I've talked to him too. He always seems like a nice guy. Steven says, can our draft picks change again? Tankathon has us at 4th and 7. Also, who would you pick at those spots? I think we're going to be at 5 and 7. If the Jets lose, we're going to be 5. And the highest we could be is 4. I don't think the Bears pick could drop any more than 7. I'm pretty sure on that based off the tiebreaker. So I think we're going to be at 5 and 7. It all depends on who's there. But what I want, you guys know, I want the offensive line. And it depends on who's there, though. It depends on how they feel about the tackles and who's going to be there at 5, what trade probabilities are going to be there. If Evan Neal's there at 5, I'm drooling. I'm all in. If one of those top 2 edge rushers drop to us, you have to strongly consider it, right? So for me, I'm definitely going to be thinking line, but it all depends on who drops. For me, if it's not one of the top 2 edge rushers, I want to go line with the first pick. The second pick, who knows? Maybe you take best available player at that point. But if Aiden Hutchinson doesn't drop, or Thibodeau, I think at that point I want to go offensive line with that 5th pick. Let's see. And Steve, man, thank you very much. And there's a lot of people talk about Charles Cross. If Neal's off the board, Charles Cross, Icom from NC State, they could go that route. Mike says, I guess that's a Twitter status. I don't know who that is. I'll try to copy that link. I don't know if I can. I don't have the YouTube chat in front of me. Well, Jew Stadium. Yeah, I already read that tweet, Mike. U Stadium came out and said that his sources, whoever they are, he's not like a credible guy. He doesn't have a check mark, but he does have 36,000 Twitter followers, have said that there's growing speculation they're going to fire him. Clock says, alert, source almighty, Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge to the Boston Goat Slammers. We'll see, man. Adam said, yeah, I don't know if the Jets are going to look O-line. And maybe they will. I'm going to get right back to you, Adam. They drafted 2 first-round offensive linemen in the last 2 drafts with Becton, and they took the guard this year. I don't know why the name escaped me off the top of my head, but I liked him. Elijah Vera Tucker. So they took 2 first-round offensive linemen in the last 2 drafts. So I don't know. They need a lot of help in that defense. So, and Douglas has obviously shown a willingness to draft an early offensive lineman, but I would think they're going to go defense, especially with their first pick. Adam says they just announced a new GM. It's an in-house hire, director of consent. You almost made my heart skip, but then I said there's no way that they already announced the GM. A medium soda, pretty good there, Adam. Next year it better be a large. I don't trust you, Stadium. I'm not buying into that yet. I'm not saying maybe he's telling. This is my guess. You want to know my guess of what probably happened with U Stadium? He's probably a guy on Twitter that looks to build up followers on Twitter, and he probably saw the New York Post article written by Paul Schwartz, and he probably used that as his sources that are telling him that they're going to move on from Joe Judge. That's my guess. I mean, he doesn't have any credentials. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does have sources. Simon says, "Hey Chris, just joined. Can you fill me in on your thought?" I think you mean thoughts. I think this team is going to. I think they should completely blow it up. I mean, there's not much else to say. I think Judge should be fired. I think Gettleman's obviously going to retire. I think they need to change the scouting department. I think they need to change everything. I think they need to completely blow it up. They need to bring in the best mind they can possible to build this team accordingly and take it from there. You got to start somewhere. You got to start with the line. That's where my thought is. But first, you got to get the right GM in here. I think they should blow it up. I don't think they should force Joe Judge back. That's my take on it, man. I think the Giants need to start from scratch in terms of the head coach and the GM, get two guys in on the same timeline. As far as today's game goes, it was a disaster. I knew it was going to be a disaster going in. Obviously, the 3rd and 9 was an embarrassment with the QB sneak, but it was a disaster in the defense. The defense was pathetic today. The run defense today was horrible. One of the worst games I've seen from them all year in terms of the run defense. And maybe the team didn't give a full effort. You know, you could certainly say Kenny Golladay didn't. Let's see. Simple says, "What's up, Chris? Who's worse, Mara or Dolan? And what do you think about the Knicks, bro?" Well, the Knicks, I mean, the Knicks have been underwhelming this year. I hope they get better. Historically, I would say Dolan. I mean, Mara won 2 Super Bowls. So I got to go with Dolan. Yeah, Dolan's worse. Coffin says, "Yeah, Chris, tell me about your thoughts." What's up there, Coffins, man? Gettleman's going to retire tomorrow. He's going to retire. Okay, now we can speak about the new GM in the draft. Yeah, let's. Once I find out the candidates, which I'm sure we'll find out in the next couple of days of who they're going to bring in, I'm going to have individual videos up on every one of the candidates. We'll go live. We'll talk about who our preference is. I'm going to do a ton of research on that. And then if they do fire Judge, I'll do the same thing I did last time around with the coaching search. I'll do all the individual videos on all the coaches that they could bring in, get to learn these guys better, and then see what the direction of this football team is going to be going forward. Simon says, "Got to make sure it's 50 characters because I'm broke." Oh, so that's why you wrote those. But then you gave me the $2 anyway to explain yourself. So in the end, you would have been better off giving $3. You would have saved $1. You would have got an extra couple of characters, and you could have spelled thoughts. You got to think economically, man. Check his Twitter. He has a check mark. Who are you talking about? Lorenzo? I don't know who you're referring to. Bobby Thompson. Is that who you're talking about? Let me take a quick look. Let me look at Bobby Thompson. Bobby Thompson does have a check mark. Bobby Thompson actually follows me. He is an NFL journalist covering the Tampa Bay Bucks, New England Patriots for Fansided. He actually follows me. Let's see what he said. Report, the feeling around the Giants organization is that Joe Judge will be fired. Yeah, to me, this is all just coming out from the New York Post. And it's people looking to get likes on their tweets. I'm going to say it now. And I'm going to get likes on my tweets. Watch this. Hold on. I'm going to say it. That's all these people are doing. They're just saying reports that it's all coming out from that New York Post article. Reports. No, I'm not even going to say it. But that's all anybody's doing right now. They're just copying off that New York Post article. NFL expert says Jim Harbaugh and Ed Dodds. Sign me up in a second, man. Gerald says, is it possible Joe Judge trying? No, I don't think he's trying to be fired. He's a head coach. Head coaching jobs don't come around every so often. So, no, I don't think he's trying to get fired. I think he just sucks. Michael says, well, yeah, I'm going to be doing Met games. Not every game, because those, as you guys know, man, those Met games could take 4.5 hours. But no, I'll definitely do Met games this year. Maybe twice a week. I'll try to be more consistent with those. But yeah, I'm looking forward to baseball season. What about the old Ravens GM? I mean, I would love him. He retired though, but he's one of the greatest GMs ever. I love him. He sealed his fate during the 11-minute rant. Like I said, man, I think once the national media started going after him, I think that's when Joe Judge, there was a good chance he'd be gone. Abe says you should do a contest on who we draft. First 2 picks, if correctly guessed, you should give away a prize. Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely look into doing something like that. I think that's cool. Maybe do like a mock draft contest with you guys. I'll look into that. I'm sure there's stuff I could do. I think I've probably done it in the past. I don't remember. But yeah, that's a good idea. That's something I'll do. Maybe I'll give away I don't know, something cool. I'm giving this away to my members. I gotta wait like another 4 or 5 days. I told them I'd give them some time to comment on the live stream. I'm giving this away. One of my subscribers was nice enough to give this to me. He might be watching this. I think he told me to give it away to somebody on my one of the subscribers on my channel. He was kind enough to send me this JCC orange signed jersey. So, but I'm gonna be giving away a ton of good stuff for you guys. Maybe during the draft. That's a good idea. Maybe we'll do some contests, have some fun. That's a good idea, man. Let's see what we got. Wolves says breaking news: speculation looms as a possibility of Joe Judge being fired increases. Now give me clout. That's exactly what's going on. That's exactly what's going on right now. That's exactly what's going on. DJ says, I think the new GM keeps I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a kid and I'm a real let me see what we got here. Jesse says, I'm a kid and I'm really big about the NFL and obviously the Giants, but I don't understand how people get these crazy stats and inside information like gym interviews. Do you know good Twitter accounts? I mean, Jesse, if you just want a lot of people are going to go on Twitter. No news, Big Blue yet. I don't think you're going to get news until tomorrow at the earliest, but a lot of people are going to go on Twitter. They go on Twitter to, find rumor accounts. But if you want to get like credible information, don't take anything you hear unless it's from like a credible person. Ian Rappaport, like NFL. Yeah, you want to follow the Ian Rappaport. You want to follow Adam Schefter. Those guys. When those guys say something, it's legit. Another My Sports Update is a really good account. He's basically he's huge. He's got a huge following, but he basically is just a guy that reciprocates information that he gets from those guys. But you take anything else you hear with a grain of salt from anybody else on Twitter. Let's see. V-Rock says Baltimore. Actually, for anybody that's in here, the best source on Giants Twitter, Wes Steinberg. Obviously, I hope you guys know I'm kidding. Yeah, Glazer is good too. V-Rock says Baltimore GM is Hart's not sure he wants to leave. Yeah, a lot of people like him. No, he was talking about the previous GM. Not the current. Let's see what we got here. Who should be your favorites for the head coach vacancy? I've said it countless times. My favorite would be Harbaugh. That's the guy I would want more than anybody. If Wes says it is so, Daniel says, yeah. Wes Steinberg, man, he has grown. Yeah, Ozzie Newsome, one of the greatest GMs ever. As the Bucs just scored a touchdown, they're up 24-10 on Carolina. Doesn't really have any implication on the Giants pick. But let me take a quick look at the Jets score. I know they were getting blown out. We're rooting for the Jets if they have any prayer. Jets are actually only down 6 points. Maybe I'll turn the Jets game on. Jets are only down 6 points, guys. I'm sure that game's on TV. Hold on, where's the remote? I don't even know what I did with the remote. I got it on Red Zone, but yeah, the Jets are only down 6 points right now. 13-7. Jets win. We get up to the 4th pick. Let's see what we got. Jets play tough, man. Down the stretch. Dustin says, how long does it usually take teams to find GMs in the offseason? When do you expect the Giants will know? I mean, based off everything that I've heard, I don't think it's going to happen overnight. It looks like the Giants are going to bring in a lot of candidates. Like, I think Renan's named 6 plate people, and he said there's a lot more than that. So I think you're going to be like double-digit interviews now. Maybe if there's a guy that they love, it happens quicker and they don't bother interviewing the last 5 or 6 candidates. But I don't think it's going to I think it'll take at least a week. I don't think it's just going to happen like that. It's not going to happen within a day. At least a week, I would guess. I don't remember how long it took when we hired Judge. Luke says, I want Eli for GM. Everybody loves Eli. I don't see that happening, though. Seattle just scored a touchdown. I'm trying to think if that helps us at all. I don't know, because we don't pass Seattle because of the... Actually, hold on. Hold on. Oh, Seattle's already behind the Bears. Never mind. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. We're stuck at 7 with that pick no matter what. I don't want Eli as the GM. He doesn't have any credentials. I don't want Eli as the GM. Blake says, for head coach Harbaugh, Dabble, Caldwell, and Hackett. Dabble's another popular name. People have brought up the OC for the Buffalo Bills, who's done a really good job over there. Doug Peterson's another name people have brought up. I personally don't want Doug. I was never a big fan of Doug. I know he's got a Super Bowl title. I think he's too analytical. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying I don't want to coach shoot up. Like, to me, Joe Judge is not analytical enough. But I always was under the impression that he was too analytical. Like, he basically read off a computer screen. That was just my mindset with Peterson. So when I watched the Eagles games, at least his last year, when I would call the games, so I'm not a big fan of Peterson. Super Bowl, the dude goes for it like he's playing. Dave G would have been let go 4 months ago again. Wait, Dave G would have been let go 4 months ago again. Why wait? In terms of Gettleman, they're going to let him retire. I'm not saying that I agree with it, but they're going to let him retire tomorrow. That's why they're waiting. They're going to do it tomorrow. They're going to have like a press conference, and I don't know if Dave will talk, but I'm assuming Mara will address the media. Maybe Dave will address the media, and he's going to step down. I don't think he's going to be fired. He's going to step down. Steve says, thanks for the season. Dealt with a lot of dark times emotionally, and you and Dog made it easier, even if the Giants didn't go. I appreciate that, Steve, man. Will I do a video on Showalter? Going into the season, I don't know if I'll do videos after the football season when I have a little bit of time. Maybe I'll do like a weekly Giants live show. I Mets rather live show once a week. I'm going to be doing a Knicks live show starting in a week as well. So maybe I'll do something like that. Maybe after we receive word that baseball's actually going to be played this year, which I think is going to happen. Pimp says, I've heard some DJ fans say they'll leave if DJ is traded. That's ridiculous. Be my guest. Dave Gettleman didn't build an ideal situation, but DJ underperformed. He's not my guy. Sorry. That's ridiculous. You're going to leave the team because they trade a quarterback? I mean, you have, regardless of what you, and I personally would stick with DJ next year. I wouldn't force a quarterback pick. Now, if you could get really good trade value, maybe you do trade him, and then you bring in a stopgap. But you can't fault the next GM that comes in if he doesn't identify that Daniel Jones is his quarterback. He didn't draft him, like you said. How you're going to leave the team? Give me a break. That's ridiculous. And the Jets just block. Oh, this must be a review. The Jets blocked the Bills' punt. That's a review from before. Yeah, let me find my remote. The Jets just blocked the Bills' punt. 13-7, 5:26 to go here in the third. I don't know what the hell I did with the remote, but I got it on the red zone. I know I had it because I turned on the box after it shut off on me. But they got it on the red zone now, so I'll watch it. Pim says, just unreal, man. I'm a Giants fan. Yeah, dude, that's ridiculous. Same thing like when people said they weren't going to be Giants fans after they traded Odell. Like, what? You're an Odell fan. You're not a Giants fan. Yeah, I got the red zone on Nona. They'll show the Jets game if they score. Let me see if I can find the remote. It's got to be down here. I got it on the red zone, so it'll pop on. Steve, man, thank you very much, man. Here's 10. Only if you send Bad Dog 5. Go Giants from Canada, man. Steve, man, I appreciate that, man. And yeah, I will. Thank you, man. Joe says, if the Jets win and the Seahawks win, we jump ahead of them with both picks. Well, no, the Seahawks, we're already ahead. You're talking about the Bears? I think we're all right, let me look at this real quick. Let me show this to the chat real quick. Hold on. This is the tankathon right now. This is the draft order right now. So right now, and the strength of schedule is all you care about. That's the tiebreaker. Right now, Chicago and Seattle are both 5-2-1 in terms of their strength of schedule. That's before this game is complete. Because if you see, Seattle is 6-10. So that strength of schedule should go up because Seattle's playing Arizona, who has a higher winning percentage than 521. So if that's the case, conventional wisdom would tell me, regardless of what happens in that Seattle game, Chicago should stay ahead of them. I think Chicago is going to stay at 7, even if Seattle loses. That's what I think will happen. So I think Chicago stays at 7. They can't move up because, again, if you look at the strength of schedule, Carolina, even if they win, is at 507. They're not catching them at 521. So Chicago stays at 7. The Giants could stay at 4 if the Jets were to win. So that's really what we're looking at right now. If the Jets win, we move up to 4. Bears beat the Hawks. That's not the tiebreaker. Head-to-head is not the tiebreaker when it comes to draft position. The tiebreaker is strength of schedule. It has nothing to do with head-to-head. Right now, look at any team that's tied. Houston 4-13, Giants 4-13. Houston's ahead of them because they have the lower strength of schedule, 502. Strength of schedule is the tiebreaker, not head-to-head. So no matter what happens with Seattle, Chicago should stay with that 7 pick. Head-to-head means nothing when it comes to draft order. Zip. And Manny, man, thank you very much, man. He said it's a tie right now, but that strength of schedule should update at the end of the game because it was 521 going into that game. Manny, man, thank you very much, man. TJ Watt tied. But I'm pretty sure, I think I remember that strength of schedule was 521 before that game started. We'll see. We'll see if it updates at the end of the game. Manny says, TJ Watt tied Strahan. Not sure if that was said. Yeah, it was said during Bad Dog Stream. 2, I'm telling you right now, the 3rd and 9 quarterback sneak is what does Judge in. Mara probably puked. I mean, it was pathetic. It was beyond conservative, and there was no reason for it. The game meant nothing. What are you preserving at that point? Take a shot. Yeah, I knew that Watt tied Strahan, and I don't think that Watt, for people that are saying it's a 17-game schedule, Watt missed 2 games. So as much as I love Strahan, no, I think that's legit. I think he deserves to be titled the joint sack leader in terms of a single season at 22.5. Also, if you're being honest, Strahan got the last sack because of Brett Favre. So I think it's a legitimate tie. Blue Collar says, unpopular opinion, 3 more years of Judge, new GM, year 1 O-line, year 2 quarterback, year 3 playoffs, or clean house possible. 3 more years of Judge. I mean, anything's possible. We will see within a week, I think, if Judge is going to be back with this football team. As far as your plan, yeah, I think year 1 is O-line. I think that's what they have to focus on mainly on the offensive side of the football this year. And yeah, next year, quarterback. If Jones is not going to be the long-term answer, you're going to go quarterback after you fix that line, and then you start to bring the bells and whistles, the wide receivers, to fulfill this offense. But I think you start with the line, and the most important thing is getting in even if Judge comes back, the most important thing is getting a friggin' play caller who knows what the hell he's doing. Mark says, Chris, if Seattle wins, that's 7 for them. That's 7 wins for them. Well, if they win, Chicago stays above them, no doubt. I'm talking about if Seattle loses, I think Chicago still stays above them. I could be wrong on that, though. Maybe that's the case. Maybe they stay. Maybe it's 8 instead of 7. Regardless, Chicago's not dropping any lower than 8. I think they'll still be at 7, though. Steve, man, thank you very much, man. Do we go best player available or 2? I think here's what I'll say. No matter what, I think we have to take 1 lineman. I'm not saying they have to take 2. That's my take on it right now. And it's probably what's going to happen if they don't go quarterback. I think they're going to go lineman with one of them, and I think they're going to take the best available player, which will probably be a defensive player with the 2nd pick. If you ask me right now what I think they're going to do, I think they'll go line and take a defensive player, whether that be Hamilton, the safety, whether that be an edge rusher, I don't know, but I think they'll go offense and defense with those 2 picks. Mikey says, hey, and I just wanted to say, despite the bad season, I went to my first Giants game in LA. The hospitality and love with fans, that's awesome, man. I think that's one of the best stadiums in football. So that's awesome that you got to go there and check it out. Zig says, and thank you, man, as they're showing wow, what a catch that was. What was that, Cup? Wow. That's a big game for the 49ers. They're tied 17 apiece with 5 minutes to go in the 4th. Zig says, Judge may be safe because it was an obvious tank job. We'll see in the coming days. He might be. I'm not ruling it out. If the Jets win, we go to 4. They have to win. If they lose, we stay at 5. Let Let me take a quick look around the scores right now. Miami's going to beat New England. Unbelievable. Did not see that coming. Buffalo's up 13-10 on the Jets. They have a 3rd and 5 at their own 30. Still plenty of time in that game. 3:24 to go. Seattle lost to Chicago, so Chicago pick would be worth. If they finish with the same exact strength of schedule, that is probably correct. I wish I could go back and see what their strength of schedule was before they started their game today, because I could have sworn it was 5-2-1. And I don't think the strength of schedule updates until the conclusion of the game. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But I don't think I am. As Russell Wilson just scored a touchdown. Regardless, it's 7 or 8. Doesn't make much of a difference to me. It was all about not falling outside of the top 10. Okay. 7 or 8. If it's 8, it's 8. It's not the end of the world, LA Sports. I don't care. But I guess it does matter. Abe says, whatever happened to Wisenhunt from Arizona a few years ago? He turned them around and got to a Super Bowl. Yeah. Well, Wisenhunt obviously got replaced by Arians. And then Arians did a really good job with Arizona. Never reached the Super Bowl. I don't know what happened to Wisenhunt. Let me take a quick look. I don't know what happened to Wisenhunt. But Arizona under Arians was really good. He went to the Titans for a year, 2 years rather. Got fired from 2014 to 2015. He's been out of the league since 2019. He was the offensive coordinator for the Chargers from 16 to 19. And he's been out of the league. He's not in the league. But yeah, did reach the Super Bowl with Arizona that year. Where we would have won the Super Bowl, by the way, had Burris not shot himself. Jets down. Yeah, I know the Jets are down by 3, but the Bills have the ball. Now they're showing the Jets game here at 2nd and 15. This to me I'm much more excited about this than the Seattle game if the Jets were to win, because jumping from 5 to 4 is a big deal. I think that gives you, I think if we got the 4, you're probably guaranteed. I shouldn't say guaranteed, but the probability of you landing one of the top 2 edge rushers or Evan Neal is significantly higher if you're at 4 as opposed to 5. That's a big deal, I think. So if the Jets were to somehow win this game, yeah, that'd be big. Kupp needs 22 yards for the record. I hope it goes to OT. Kupp's ridiculous. He's not going to win MVP like some people have said, but he's had a ridiculous year. He'll probably win Offensive Player of the Year. Showing the Panthers game here, the Bucks game here rather, against the Panthers, as the Bucks are up 24-17. I'm always right. Well, that's good. That's my favorite when people say they're always right. Here's Josh Allen. Nearly threw a pick. Jets almost intercepted it. 41 seconds to go in the third. They're going to get the ball. Jets are going to get the ball. 4th and 14. Chris, it's Grave, man. Thank God it's over is right, Grave, man. Good to see you, man. If you would keep Judge, then you need to leave with him. I would fire Judge. How can we make Abrams the money cruncher, the GM, when he went in today's game? We can't. I can't believe that there were people that were defending that as a possibility. No, you can't do that. You cannot hire somebody from within this staff that's been as bad as this New York Giants football team has been. He's been with them the entire time, as the Bills are going to down that at the 2. So Jets got a ways to go. I mean, Simon, I'd be okay with it, but you think Shermer's going to take this job? I don't think so. After the way that the New York Giants fired him after 2 years, I don't think so. I think he would take another. It's not like he's not going to get other job opportunities. I would agree that 7 or 8 would not make that big of a difference, but it may be the Jets. And come draft day, you want the Jets pick of course, in an ideal world, you want to be picking as high as you possibly can. Shen says, Chris, what's your ideal head coach GM combo if Judge gets canned? Yeah, for me, ideal. It's Dodds and Harbaugh. Ideal, like if it's Fantasyland, it's Dodds and Harbaugh. Mark says, I'm confused how the Seahawks win doesn't help us. Seahawks win absolutely helps us. I'm just saying that, and people in the chat are saying I'm wrong, and maybe I am. I'm under the impression that it doesn't matter whether they win or lose. That the Bears pick would still be at 7, because I don't think the strength of schedule is updated yet on Tankathon, but maybe I'm wrong. And if I am wrong, then yeah, the Seattle win absolutely helps us. It guarantees the Bears stay at 7. But he's right. Now that I'm looking at it, there is not a draft position clinched for the Chicago Bears. So he must be right. If Seattle were to lose, I guess Chicago would go back to 8. Because if you look to the left, Jacksonville's clinched to 1, Detroit's clinched to 2, Houston's clinched to 3, Carolina's clinched to 6th. The Giants and Jets could go either way, depending on what the Jets do at 4 and 5. And then you have Chicago. And so I guess he's right. If Seattle loses, Chicago goes back to 8. V-Rock says, I take Ekwonu over Neal. This kid's dude. He's my favorite player in the draft. I think my favorite tackle that I've watched. I'll put it that way. My favorite tackle that I've watched. I don't know if I would take him over Neal based off everything I've heard. People talk that guy up to be like his upside is through the roof. But in terms of, I'm a big fan of Ekwonu. Let's put it that way. Mark says the Hawks have 7 wins, the Bears 6. Well, that's if they win. They haven't won yet. Right now they have 6. That's if they win. Yeah, if they win, it's undeniable. Then the Bears would stay at 7. The discussion was more if they lost and both teams had 6 wins, who would have the higher pick. But yeah, if they win, it's undeniable. The Bears stay at 7. But I agree. I don't think the Jets will win. I haven't seen that video yet. I've seen a couple of videos on Icom. I haven't seen that one yet. Fangio might be good with the defense. Never been a big Graham fan anyway. Well, if we fire Judge, Graham's going to be gone. Sergio says, besides Harbaugh, who else would you go after? Dan Quinn. Also, if you had to pick a quarterback this question, who would it be? I mean, I'm not going to answer the quarterback question yet. I can tell you what I've seen so far with the quarterbacks. Pickett looks pretty good. I mean, he's 24. He's got 8-inch hands. I think that's at least a slight concern. I think Matt Corral's got a good arm. I've said that in the past. Malik Willis probably has potentially the highest upside, but he's incredibly inaccurate. And he makes a lot of silly decisions. Some of the game tape I've seen. None of them jump off the page for me in terms of being an elite prospect. As far as but I mean, if I had to pick one right now, I don't know. I'd probably pick it, but I don't want any of them. As far as the head coach, if not for Harbaugh, I mean, people have brought up Caldwell. I mean, I wouldn't mind a guy like Dabble. I know he doesn't have head coaching experience, but he's a very accredited offensive coordinator with the Bills. A lot of people have given him a ton of credit for Josh Allen's growth as a quarterback, and I think that's something that we definitely need. We need a guy to come in here and further develop Daniel Jones and potentially the guy that may replace Daniel Jones. So I think we need to get a really good offensive mind in here. So he's a guy. I would need a list in front of me of the guys that they're bringing in, but Harbaugh is the one guy that makes me like to me is like a no-brainer if he was available. Dan says off topic, but Chris, I saw season 4 was great. I actually think that was the best season yet for Cobra Kai. I thought it was the best season, and I'm a big Cobra Kai fan. I think this was the best season. I thought it was great. King says Mara did not want to do it, but the results once Jones went down are a total embarrassment to the organization, and Judge realizes that regardless of his bravado. Yeah, I think he's gone, man. I do. I really do. Wolf says, as a Liberty student, I say F analytics. Malik for the win. A lot of Giants fans like Malik, and if they take Malik, I'll hope that he's the guy. Miami's up 20. Wow, Miami's gonna win. Wow. Oh, New England just scored a touchdown. It's 27-17. This is a really bad loss for New England, by the way. If they lose, because right now Buffalo is potentially going to cost the division if New England can win. And they're about to lose to Miami. I mean, some of these teams' performances today, I mean, whether it be the Colts, New England, if you're a fan of these teams going into the playoffs, You got to be really concerned with some of the efforts these teams have put forth. Marmar says only keep Thomas and maybe Gates and replace everyone else on the line. Big fan of the channel, Tana. Go Giants. I appreciate that, Marmar, man. Thank you very much, man. Yeah, I'm with you, man, in terms of the line, man, for sure. Thomas is the only guy, in my opinion. And maybe Gates surprised me and he comes back healthy and he's incredible. And I hope that's the case. But in terms of the only sure thing on the line, it's Thomas. It's nobody else. I don't believe in anybody else right now that I know for sure could be a part of the future of this line. Wolf says a New England loss would clinch for Buffalo regardless. Yeah, I know, in terms of the division. Exactly. But if Buffalo right now may lose that game, it's not like if New England scoreboard watching, they're like, oh, we could rest the starters because we're not going to win the division anyway. That's a really competitive game right now with 13 minutes to go. And New England with 6 minutes to go in their game is losing by 10 points in a big game. I mean, you want to win the division, right? Let's see what we got. Get you a home playoff game. Dan, thank you. Says Cobra Kai isn't even the usual show I watch, but that show is let me just read the rest. Is the best show to binge watch. It's so addicting. It's like snack food. Yeah, I thought season 4 was the best season, and you're absolutely right. It's a perfect. Another show I started watching, and it's not for everybody. I only started watching it because Zach Rosenblatt tweeted it out, and I had never even heard of it. It's a completely different type of show. It's like very serious, but I think it's really good. It's an HBO Max show. It's 11, something 11 in the title. Maybe somebody in the chat has watched it, but it's an HBO Max show. It's basically about the pandemic, but times 100. Like it's like the world is ending. But the story was written like 20 years ago. They decided to make the show now, but it's really good. I think it's really good. But I only started watching it because Zach Rosenblatt put me onto it. Ozark, people tell me about. Yeah, Ozark's supposed to be really good. Station 11, that's it. Station 11. Yeah, I started watching that. That's pretty good. But yeah, in terms of like enjoyable show, you can't really go wrong with Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is kind of like, yeah, I think it's a great show. Cobra Kai is kind of like Stranger Things. Like it's like the episodes go by so quick, and it's just a fun show. Niners getting one last drive to tie. Yeah, I'm watching it right now, this is a playoff game for the Niners. What's the Saints score? Let me take a quick look there because if the Saints win and the Niners lose, the Niners are out. Garoppolo, look at the Niners. The Niners all the way down to the 19. Now the Niners on the road, the Saints are going to win. So the Niners need this to make the playoffs. Saints are up by 17 points on Atlanta. So, wow, there's a playoff right here. Now, the Niners on the road against the Rams, if they score, do they go for 2? Or do they go to overtime? It's an interesting decision on the road. They called a flag on the Rams, I think, so it's going to be half the distance. Watch Ozark. Yeah, everybody tells me I got to watch Ozark. Tana, why did they keep announcing 79 eligible? Fabian, when I went to the game, they did the same thing with Matt Parrott. They made Matt Parrott the eligible receiver. It was like 20 times. People told me that earlier in the stream that they were doing that, I think, with Cunningham. They did the same thing when I went to the game with Matt Parrott. And my guess is because they were running a lot of jumbo packages, they wanted to get the extra offensive lineman in there to block. So I guess they announced him as an eligible receiver. But he's basically just in there to be an extra blocker. And a timeout on the field, 35 seconds to go in the fourth. 100. I've never heard of 100, I don't think, Kate Sam. Dude, Ghostbusters, Billy? I saw Ghostbusters. My brother and me got into a huge argument about Ghostbusters. He didn't like it that much. He said it was okay. I freaking loved it. And I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan, so I'm biased. I saw Ghostbusters like a month, maybe even 6 weeks before it came out in theaters, because I went to Comic-Con and they had a unexpected, they didn't tell us they were going to do it. They showed the whole movie. And I saw it again in theaters after it came out because I wanted to make sure that I liked it as much as I thought I did when I saw it, surrounded by Comic-Con fans. And I freaking loved it. I thought Ghostbusters was awesome. Yeah, I heard about Paul Schwartz. Chris, do you think Andrew Garfield should get a? Yes, I do. I think he's a great actor, just a horrible script. Have you seen Clown Busters? No, what the hell is that? Yeah, Big Blue. In case you guys don't know, I don't upload there nearly as frequently as I do on the sports channel. I have a movie channel. It's the same. You just type in the same thing here. It's Entertainer Talking Movies instead of Entertainer Talking Sports. And me and my brother reviewed the new Spider-Man movie. But yeah, it was freaking awesome. I loved it. I think it was the best Spider-Man movie. V-Rock says, any ideas on Washington new name? Somebody told me, yeah, Money Heist is a good show. Somebody told me, what was Commanders? I think that's the rumored name. So I think somebody in my Discord showed. I think Commanders is the rumored name that it's going to be for Washington. I don't know. The Niners just scored a touchdown, by the way. 24-23. Now, are they going to go for 2? You kick the extra point, you guarantee yourself you're going to overtime. The Rams still do have 2 timeouts with 26 seconds to go. I think they're going to kick the extra point. So great job by Garoppolo to go down the field and tie the game. Wow. Wow. But yeah, I heard the Commanders is the name. Dan says, what's your top 5 or 10 favorite shows? It could be either ever or currently or both, but I agree with others in the chat. Yeah, I haven't watched Ozark yet. Well, I mean, that's such a tough question. Because I just jump from show to show. That's like just the way it is now. My favorite show of all time is Breaking Bad, and I don't even think it's close. By far, my favorite show ever is Breaking Bad. And then, I mean, Game of Thrones has got to be up there. Stranger Things, I love. I don't know. The Boys, I don't know if you guys have seen that. I think The Boys show is friggin' awesome. It's basically like a show that kind of like makes fun of superheroes. Like it's the reverse. Like it's like the superheroes are the villains, but I think it's awesome. And then I also really like Umbrella Academy, which is like another superhero show, which I think the 3rd season's coming out soon. Those are just some of my favorite shows off the top of my head in terms of like mixing the old with the new. But I also, but Breaking Bad is my favorite. Seinfeld is terrific. Wolves, man, thank you very much. The name change just ruins the history of the rivalry between the Redskins and the Giants from the 80s, to be honest. It doesn't bother me as much. I know some fans, it bothers them. And maybe if I was I haven't watched The Witcher yet. But people have told me it's really good. Maybe if I was a Washington, it probably would bother me if I was a Washington, but I don't think so. You know, like maybe a lot of you guys don't know, I'm a huge St. John's fan. And St. John's name used to be the Redmen, which was obviously thought to be, insulting to Native Americans. So they changed it to the Red Storm. It didn't bother me. But again, I didn't grow up, I guess, like, watching them for 20, 30 years. But I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal personally. Dave, man, thank you very much for the $5 donation. Sopranos is fantastic. I haven't watched Sopranos in years, but Sopranos definitely up there as well. And Sopranos is one of those transcendent shows that changed everything for cable TV. You absolutely have to give it its props. Blake says, how do you feel about Ned being the Hog? Did they announce that? Did they announce that Ned was going to be the Hobgoblin? I thought I heard that Ned was going to be, like, at least the way that they hinted in the movie, it seemed as if Ned was going to have some kind of relation to, as the Rams are starting to drive here, 21 seconds to go, to Doctor Strange, right? Because he was the guy that could open up the portal. So, like, Doctor Strange came out and he's like, you could do that? Like, it was like a surprise to him. So the way I looked at it was like, oh, Ned's going to have some kind of relation in that facet. Blake, man, thank you very much, man. How do you feel? Oh, I just read that. What's up, Zach, man? Thanks for popping in the stream. It's not confirmed. Okay. Stand up. What's going on there, Joey Lutz? Admirals, Washington Admirals. Is that what it's? Is that what they're going to be called? I actually like the Washington Admirals more than the Commanders. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the I shouldn't say not. It's whatever. I'm sure I'll get used to whatever they name the team, but Admirals. Okay. So Arizona here, 6:27 to go in the 4th. Here's Murray. And that's incomplete. Was looking to the left corner of the end zone. Tana, you the man. No, you the man. Ted Lasso is a show that I have not seen yet that I need to. And the only reason I haven't seen it is because I don't have Apple TV. But everybody tells me Ted Lasso is great. I haven't seen it, though, because I don't have Apple TV. Yeah, of course I've seen The Office. The Office was like the first show that, like, basically the way that I would describe The Office, it's like it's like a sitcom, but a reality show mixed together. Like, it's not actually a reality show, but the characters on the show are in a reality show. It was a unique concept. And then they did then they did the same thing with Parks and Rec, which I thought was great. Office is great. Another great sitcom that I love is Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Imp says, watch Rome and Deadwood. Deadwood's another show I've heard is great. For shows that rival Game of Thrones and Sopranos for best ever on YouTube. I've never watched Rome. I've never watched Deadwood either, but I've heard Deadwood is really good. I skipped your super chat. Hold on. Let me I don't mean to do that, Simon. Let me see if I can find it. Toasty, I skipped you. Oh no, I read yours. Simon, let me see. Oh, there you are. Sorry, Simon. He says, "Can you please start rooting for the real New York team, the New York Rangers?" I'm not I mean, I don't hate hockey. I'm just not a huge hockey fan. And what I always got to remain true to myself. I grew up probably a Rangers fan, actually. In like, because I was a kid. When I was like 8 or 9, the Rangers were good. And I remember rooting for them hard during the Stanley Cup Finals when the Knicks and the Rangers were in the championships together. I was rooting for Messier, Leach, Boom, Graves, as the Bucks just scored a touchdown. But I came from Long Island when I was like 12 or 13. I decided to be an Islanders fan, but I'm like a casual hockey fan. I don't have any hate for either team. I know you're supposed to, but I'm like a casual hockey fan. I love going to hockey games though. Abe says should be the Washington Monuments. It's actually not horrible. It's a little weird. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I get it, but it's I don't know. Like, what would the helmet be? Like a picture of a monument? I don't know. Let's see. That's when I became a Rangers fan. I think that's when a lot of people became Ranger fans, Billy. I used to actually like hockey a lot when I was a kid. And then I kind of just, I don't know. I think when I fell in love with baseball and football, I just didn't have enough time to keep up with all four. Dan says, have you ever saw Dexter? I have. I have not seen the new season. People have told me the new season is really good. The best season of Dexter is undeniable for me. And if you guys have watched Dexter before, it has to be the John Lithgow season. John Lithgow was incredible. That was the best season. But to me, Dexter got like progressively worse. The last like couple of seasons, I was like, I'm like done with this. But I loved like the first 3 or 4 seasons of Dexter. Shaw says the Giants give me Deadwood. People have told me the new season's good, man. Subscribe to Talking Movies. That's awesome, man. Thanks for checking it out, man. I'm gonna try to be more consistent on that channel. I actually just saw the Kingsman. I don't know if I'm gonna do a review on it though. The movie sucked. V-Rock, he says Washington Warriors better. It's pretty good. Double W's. I like it. Yellowstone best show. I'm gonna have to write that down. I've never even heard of that one. Yellowstone, huh? Yellowstone. Let me write that. I'm always looking for shows. So Yellowstone. Okay. Cool says you think judges. I do. I by no means do I think it's like 100% or I'm like near certain. But yeah, if you ask me right now if I was on a lie detector, which way am I leaning? Yeah, I think he's gone. Imp says they should have bought out the guy that copyrighted Warriors. It's with Lithgow, totally. Yeah, that was the best season of Dexter. I don't even think it's close. Oh, is that what it was? They wanted to. That's what it was. I remember that the name was copyrighted. It was the Warriors name that was copyrighted, which is why they couldn't call themselves the Warriors. That would have sounded good. Cartcoach says, I'm so depressed. I just bought my Dream M3 online. All right. There you go. There you go, Cartcoach. This team stinks, though. I understand why you're depressed. You heard Yellowstone and Virgin Rivers are good. I'll have to take a look at those. I haven't seen those. Hey, Chris, I think the Giants need to get Wendell Robinson. He's an explosive wide receiver out of Kentucky. If he's in the 3rd or 4th round, I'm all ears. Abe says it's like the Sopranos with horses. What? Sopranos with horses? I'm trying to get a visual of that. I'll definitely have to check out that show. I just watched. I was bored the other day. I have Disney Plus. I just watched the new Cruella. It was actually pretty good. I thought that was pretty good. Kelvin H says Washington Red Hogs sounds good. Giants should call themselves the New York Hogs because yeah, we definitely need them. Hey Tana, did you see? No, I don't. I don't have the. I had the YouTube chat up earlier. Comics. I don't now because my internet reset like two times. So I'm sorry if I missed it. I was reading them earlier. Dan says I agree. The first 4 seasons of Dexter amazing, especially it was great. And then I just felt like they didn't know what the hell they were gonna do. Seattle just scored again, by the way, which is good. So that keeps the Bears pick at 7. They have a 10-point lead with 4 minutes to go. So hopefully that stays the way it is. David says, in the original comics, Ned Leeds was also the Hobgoblin, as well as in the 90s cartoon voiced by Mark Hamill. They could do that. I had no idea. I'm not a big comic fan, so I had no idea. I don't know how I feel about that. Now, now that I'm thinking about Ned in the movie, they did kind of hint, right? Like, remember this scene, and I'm not trying to give away anything in Spider-Man if you've seen it, but go out and watch it if you haven't seen it. What the hell are you waiting for? But there was a scene where they were all in the chemistry lab when they were all 3 Spider-Men were working on the antidote to do what they had to do to all the villains. And both Spider-Men like kind of freaked Ned out when they said that their best friend, like, they killed their best friend or something like that. And then you saw Ned like a little shaky, like he was nervous. So maybe that was like a hint that he may be a villain in a future movie. I don't know. Sonor, what's going on, man? Big game for you guys tonight, man. I think you're going to win, Sonor, man. Glad to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Marmor says, thoughts on the new Batman movie coming out? I think the trailer looks sick. I'm looking forward to it. I think the trailer looks sick. The one thing that really stands out to me about the trailer, I can't believe that Colin Farrell is the Penguin. It looks nothing like Colin Farrell. And I actually heard a rumor that they're going to be doing a TV show on Colin Farrell's character in that movie. So the fact that they've already committed to that TV show makes you think that they probably think he's going to do a great job in this movie. But I can't believe that's Colin Farrell. Blake says Ned doesn't. Maybe am I getting the characters confused? I must be getting the characters confused then. What's up there, MYB? That's why Ned lost all the weight. Hold on, what? I must be getting the characters confused. Oh, Ned's the Asian dude. Oh, he doesn't know. Oh, good call. Because I don't want to ruin the end, but yeah, now he doesn't know who Peter Parker is. They are setting it up. They are setting it up. Interesting. I don't know how I feel about him as a villain. The one thing I'll say about Ned before this movie, Ned always like annoyed me. Like I thought he was like too childish. I'm like, This movie he was better. It meant very much. Will it be hard to beat the Nolan trilogy? But Pattinson looks like he's got it. Where's your movie cast? What do you mean? Where's my movie cast? Like, how do I rank the Batman? Pattinson looks good in the trailer. I will say that, but I'm just sick of all the different Batman. I mean, the Batman, all the guys that have played Batman. You have Michael Keaton, who I think is probably the best. You have Val Kilmer. You have George Clooney. You have Christian Bale. You have Ben Affleck, and now you've got Robert Pattinson. Ben Affleck, I thought was a pretty good Batman. The movie just sucked. It's kind of similar to Andrew Garfield for Spider-Man, where he just had a horrible script. I thought he was a pretty good Batman, if I'm being honest. Christian Bale was great. I would say either Bale or Keaton are the best Batman, if that's what you're asking me. About to be 27-10 Bills. Yeah, so this game's over. So we're not moving up to 4. The good news is we're going to stay at 7, though, with the Bears pick. Jen says you have like 6 Spider-Man. You can handle a few Batman. Yeah, well, I mean, we've had 3 Spider-Man, right? Well, if you count the cartoon 4, in terms of the movies, you've had Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and obviously now the new guy, Tom Holland, and then you got the cartoon as well. So I guess 4. Wick there. Let's see what we got here. Hey, Chris, I think the Giants need to get. Oh, yeah, I already read that. We're gonna go. We're on this in like 9 more minutes. I went longer than I thought I was, but the stream cut off twice. I was having fun. Whenever we get into movie discussions, I just ramble. I could talk about movies forever. Gettleman and Judge gone. Nothing's out right now. Gettleman's gone. Gettleman's gonna retire, and Judge, we don't know. It's all speculation. New York Post article came out. People are going crazy about it. Not that they said he's gonna be gone, but there's growing speculation that he could be gone. But that could just be opinion based. We'll see. I'm gonna wait. If you ask me right now what I think is gonna happen, is I think they're gonna do the GM search first, and then they're gonna come to the decision of what they're gonna do with their head coach, whether it be stick with Judge or whether it be bring somebody else in. I don't think we're gonna get the answer on Judge right away. Im says you have a movie podcast, Bale. Yeah, I have a movie podcast, and I want to do that more often. I want to have more fun on that channel. I gotta come up with ideas because I don't see all these new movies all the time, but I got to come up with video ideas for you guys and have Greg on. Maybe do some more live streams on that channel. I love talking movies. Mark says, just imagine if Brady didn't win that Jet game. Yeah, good call. What's the Bucks record right now? The Bucks are 12. Well, they'd be 11-5 if they lost. They'd still be in the playoffs. They'd still win the division actually, but they'd be the 4 seed. They'd be the 4 seed, right? Because nobody in that division would have caught them. But the Bucks are going. Bucks are killing right now though against Carolina. They're up 41-17. So a good response there by Brady after the whole debacle last week with Antonio Brown. Abe says Keaton's the best. That's why he's. Let me ask you guys real quick, because this is always like a really like popular discussion topic when it comes to the Batman characters. Who's your favorite Joker? I think there's, I mean, obviously Jack Nicholson was great, but it was a different type of Joker. But I think you got to go with what's his name? Joaquin Phoenix was the most recent Joker, but then you have why does the name escape me off the top of my head? Everybody's gonna say it. The guy who passed out. Yeah, Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger's everybody's favorite, but I'm gonna tell you what, man. Joaquin Phoenix might have been. It's close. Like they're two completely different type of Jokers, but I thought Joaquin Phoenix was really good. I thought he was really good. Joey says, sounds like Judge going to be gone. We'll see. I don't think we're going to see tomorrow. I think you're going to see Gettleman gone tomorrow. I don't think you're going to get the answer on Judge tomorrow. I could be wrong, and maybe you do get that answer tomorrow. I don't think you'll get the answer tomorrow, but we'll see. I'm not going to predict that. Mark Hamill. Everybody says Mark Hamill. Yeah, I meant the movies. Mark says, I meant for leapfrogging the Jets in the draft. Oh, yeah. Yep, we'd be the 4 pick. Not the end of the world. 4. I mean, obviously, I'd prefer to be 4, but the Bills are going to win, by the way, and they're going to cover. They were a 16-point favorite. Now they're up by 16 with 3:53 to go here in the 4th, unless the Jets score a touchdown. So we're not going to move up. We'll be the 5 instead of the 4. At least here's what I'll say, Mark. I'm not going to go crazy. Did it work out perfectly? No, but we're going to be 5 and 7. I mean, that's pretty good. 2 top 7 picks. You could do some damage with that. So I think it worked out pretty well for us in terms of the draft order. Could have been a lot worse today. It could have been catastrophic had, not catastrophic, but had the Bears won, we could have dropped to like 12. So it was a pretty good day in terms of the draft position. About as good as you could have hoped for. Dominic says, Mark Hamill is my favorite Joker. He voices him. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I knew that he voiced him. And Mark Hamill's great. I actually got to meet Mark Hamill at Comic-Con a couple of years ago. Dennis says, fans mad Giants beat Washington to not land Chase Young, calling this franchise a joke. Now we are clearly calling bad plays to lose, and fans still mad. Fans mad Giants beat Washington to not land Chase Young, calling the franchise a joke. Now we're clearly calling bad. Do you think that's what happened today, Dennis? Do you think I don't think they intentionally, but maybe I'm wrong. I just think Joe Judge is ultra conservative, and I think that he felt like he was scared to let Fromm throw the football because he saw what happened on the next drive where he threw a pick 6 and he didn't want him throwing the football from his own 5. I mean, if I'm Judge going into that game, you have to think that Judge thinks he's coaching potentially for his job. Like he needs to show some competency. So I just think it was a conservative and a horrible decision, but I don't think they tanked. But maybe I'm wrong. Joaquin had me, yeah, his was like, it's a completely different like vibe with the two Jokers, but his was like dark. Like we thought that Ledger's Joker was dark. I felt like Joaquin Phoenix took us to like an even darker place, and it felt like so, like that scene with Robert De Niro at the end. That was like, I was like, in you kind of like knew in the back of your head like this was what might happen, but when you saw it, how quick it happened, you're like, oh my god, like it was great. His acting that was fantastic. I think us missing on Chase Young was a blessing in disguise. I agree with you. I think Andrew, if we didn't have Andrew Thomas, imagine what our offensive line would be. And of course, Chase Young still may end up being an incredible edge rusher, but I'm happy that we ended up with the tackle. Hockey, I don't know how to pronounce his name properly. It's Joaquin Phoenix. You might have already talked about it, but how come they went for a quarterback? I mean, the only rational explanation I could come up with, young Leo, is just what I said. I think he felt like he was scared to let him throw the ball, and he said, "All right, let's just give our punter some room to punt the ball." It makes no sense. Like, that's a game where just go for it. Take your shot. Like, you're not going to the playoffs anyway. If he throws a pick, he throws a pick. To just lay down and die like you did last week. I mean, when you run on 3rd and 10 on the draw play, like it shows that if the game meant something, it's more understandable. The fact that you should play like you have nothing to lose, it's pathetic. Looks like the 49ers are going to make the playoffs. And by the way, if they make the playoffs, which I think they're gonna, 2:53 to go, they have it on the 6. The 49ers, they are dangerous, man. This team was 6-2 in their last 8 coming in. They could run the ball. They've proven with this coach and quarterback before they could go to the Super Bowl. They're hot right now. And if they win this game, they go into LA to beat the Rams. They probably go in as the 6th seed. They'd play the Bucks or the Rams. I'm not sure how the seeding would work, but the Niners are dangerous, man. Mark, man, thank you very much. Would you rather have Thomas or Slater as our left tackle? I'd rather have both of them on our line. I'd rather have Slater on the right and Thomas on the left. So we got 2 bookend tackles. But I mean, right now, I'd probably say Slater for the simple reason that Thomas has had an injury problem now, right? He's missed some time the first 2 years, and Slater's looked great his rookie year. But I mean, I'm not complaining with either one. Thomas has been really good. So both of them look great, but I'd like both. I would have preferred to take Slater this year after we took Thomas. Yeah, I saw a Squid Game. Squid Game was awesome. So the way that I would break down Squid Game, it's like an adult version of Hunger Games. As the 49ers just kick a field goal. So maybe somebody in the chat can let me know. If the 49ers tie, do they miss the playoffs? Let me see. Because I think the Rams get the ball now. The 49ers, if they were to tie, would be 9-7-1. No, I think they get in. You've got Dallas is in. Eagles are in. Yeah, they'd get in. So Niners are in unless they blow this game. Unless if it's a tie, they get in. So if you're the Rams, you don't want the 49ers in the playoffs. You're rivals. I don't care if you could tie it with a field goal. You go for it. You try to score the touchdown. You go in for the kill. Try to keep them out of the playoffs. COVID, man, thank you very much. Have you ever seen Batman Mask or Phantasm? It's easy one. No, I have not. No, I have not. I'll have to check that out. I've not seen that. But thank you for the recommendation, man. Batman Mask. I'll have to check that out, man. FL, man, what's going on, buddy? Says Judge first coach ever lose 13 games. Would you? Yeah, dude. I didn't even know that stat. I saw that stat earlier this week because McAdoo lost 13. The team lost 13 games, but he was fired before the 13th loss. I would fire him, and I said that 5 weeks ago. I'd fire him, and I've said my reasoning as to why, and that was before the press conference. Yeah, I'd fire him. I don't see a legitimate reason to bring him back. other than you want more stability at the head coach. But I would fire him. I would absolutely fire him. Don't Look Up was all right. I actually thought Don't Look Up was going to be better. There were moments that were funny though. I felt for that movie with the cast that they had, it should have been better. Like you're talking about, like the Meryl Streep, Leonardo DiCaprio. I thought it should have been better, but it was okay. It was all right. Would I give up the 5th or 8th picks for Sean Payton? I'll give up the 8th pick. Yeah, I'll give the Saints the 8th pick for Sean Payton. One of the top 5 or 6 coaches in the league. Yeah, I'll do that. Diehard says Morbius. Yeah, Morbius looks Diehard. Morbius looks like to me a movie that could go either way. I can't tell. The one thing is DC to me is like they miss so much that like I don't know. But I mean Jared Leto's a great actor and it looks like it could be good. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they do with it. Abdur says hopefully Judge will retire too. I don't think he's going to retire, but I think he's going to get fired. Did we win? Mini guy asked me that after every game, obviously implying that he doesn't watch. No, we did not. We got destroyed as I expected that we would, and the team is still absolute trash. And now we're into the offseason where we're going to get to talk a lot about this team and the direction that we think they're going to go in. We're going to get our answers tomorrow, hopefully, definitely with Gettleman. And then we'll find out about Judge hopefully shortly thereafter if they're going to push forward with him in terms of being the head coach for this football team. And Lou Vega, stand up, new member. Welcome to the squad, man. Do you have more confidence in the Mets, Giants, or Knicks? There are not many fans of those teams combined. I'm one of a few, and there's definitely a good amount of subscribers on my channel that are actually fans of all 3 of those teams. If it was me, right now, if you're asking me, the Mets. I think the Mets, if you ask me which team is the closest, the owner alone, it makes it the Mets. The owner alone makes it the Mets. The Mets have an owner in Steve Cohen that has a empty wallet. Like he could spend as much as he wants. He's the richest owner in baseball. Baseball doesn't have a salary cap. The owner alone makes it the Mets. John Mara, to me, has not proven in recent history that he's a very good owner, and James Dolan sucks. So I think the change in ownership for the Mets make them, at least right now in the immediate future, the team that I think has the best chance to be successful. I would go with the Mets. Let's see what we got. Horny Tana. He says, yo, my sexy dude, I know Tony had a rocky first year, but if he stays healthy, wouldn't be surprised if he was a top 10 receiver. Thoughts? I'm not going to go that far. I think some Giants fans jumped the gun a little bit on Tony. I like Tony, by the way. I like Tony. I like Tony before the Giants drafted him. I think he's a good, especially if you get the right offensive scheme in here. I'm not going to go as far to say it. I mean, I'll never say never, but I'm not going to predict top 10 wide receiver. If you take away the Cowboys game, Tony had like 220 yards receiving all year. He had like 190 yards in that one game. And a lot of them came in garbage time too, when it was like prevent defense. Not to say he wasn't spectacular in that game. He was. He made a number of unbelievable plays, which I think got the fan base super excited. But I am not going to pump him up to be a top 10 potential wide receiver. I need to see a lot more evidence before I'm willing to do that. But I definitely think he's got some talent. And if you bring in a good offensive coordinator, he could be a really nice piece for an offense. Watch and Learn says, free advice for your content problem on your movie channel. Review older movies that both interest you and think your subs should check out. Okay. Yeah, I'm always looking for advice. I think a lot of people, when they go to movie channels, are looking more so for like newer movies that are just came out to get reviews. But listen, I could talk about older movies that I've loved and do a review on and think that people should check out. I'm completely down for whatever. I want to do whatever people want to watch on my channel. That's what I try to do on the Giants channel as well. So any suggestion you guys have, man, I'm always open to it. So I think the most important thing with the movie channel is I need to upload more frequently. It's just, I'm busy with this channel and other things going on in my life, but it's something I've been wanting to do for a while. So I'm going to try to be more consistent on that channel. The It Man, he says, what if we made Graham head coach instead of letting him leave? I just don't see that happening. People have brought that up as a suggestion. Like, it's the same thing I say about, like, Kevin Abrams, for example. And I don't think Patrick Graham's done a bad job. I don't. I think he's a good defensive coordinator. But it's the same thing I say about Kevin Abrams. Like, everybody's complaining about Joe Judge, and everybody's saying we need to move on from Joe Judge, and he's horrible. Well, who's Joe Judge's assistant head coach? Like, you don't think Patrick Graham has a lot of say in the game plan? I know he's more defensive-minded, but he's the assistant head coach. If you're going to fire Judge, just bring in somebody from the outside. Bring in the best possible head coach you could bring in. If they hire Graham, of course, I'll be all right. Let's rock and roll. He's a smart guy. Let's see what he's got. But I don't think they'll do that, and I don't think that's what I'd want them to do. Dude, you don't have to donate again, man. Sorry I missed your super chat. You missed my super chat. Scroll up. I'll try to find it, man. I'm sorry. Once in a while, I miss these. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you, DeGrom? Where are you, DeGrom? There you are. Sorry about that, buddy. Orphanage DeGrom says, too many injuries, 13-10 till the fourth. Oh, the Jets? Yeah, I mean, you guys fought last week, too. I mean, if I was a Jets fan, man, I'd be thrilled with the way that the season ended. I know you lost. I know you gave away the Bucs game. I know in the end the Bills kind of pulled away, but you guys have fought hard for your coach down the stretch, and at least you have something to be excited that you could build off of going into next year. You got a young roster, young quarterback, and Stafford just threw a pick. The 49ers are going to the playoffs. San Francisco 49ers are going to the playoffs. So there you go. Niners are going to be the, I don't know what seed, but I think the 6th seed. Because the Eagles will be the 7. So are they going to get a rematch with the Rams next week? Or, oh no, does this mean that the Cowboys move up? Do the Cowboys move up now to the 3 because the Rams lost? Yeah, but one game shows his potential. Yeah, it's one game. And maybe, I mean, I guess he has potential to be. But I am not gonna say that I expect it. And FL, man, thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate it. He's also got to prove that he could stay healthy. See, I'm gonna tell you what, man. Bob Saget died. Oh, that's horrible, man. That's horrible. So many guys have died these last couple of weeks. That sucks. As far as the Cowboys, if I was a Cowboys fan, Cowboy Nation, I'm gonna be honest with you. Are you the 2 or the 3 seed? If you're the 3 seed, I wouldn't be happy. Call me crazy. Call me crazy, Cowboy Nation. I'm gonna make the pick right now. If that's the first round game, 49ers are beating the Cowboys. I would not want to play the 49ers. Oh, he didn't die. So he didn't die. Okay. I would not want to play the 49ers. I think the 49ers are super dangerous right now. Super dangerous right now. Yeah, you play the Niners now. I would not be happy about that matchup. But I'll tell you what, man. Arizona's obviously challenging too. You guys lost to them, so I guess it's pick your poison. I think the 49ers would scare me more though in the playoffs than the Cardinals. I really think you guys would have beat the Cardinals. I think the 49ers have it's gonna be a good game. I think that's gonna be a great game. Now, the way that the seeding worked out in the NFC, now I think you're gonna have really interesting first round matchups. I think now you're gonna have, because now the Rams are gonna play the Cardinals. That's a really good game. And then you're going to have the Cowboys playing the Niners. 2 good games there. The 2-7 should be a blowout, but those 2 games should be really good. Fire Gettleman. Yeah, he's going to retire. He's gone. Oh, the Rams are going to play the Eagles? Really? Because the Rams lost, wouldn't it? Let me take a quick look at the standings. All right. I don't know if it's updated yet on ESPN. It's not. So I'll wait to see if it's when it's updated. The Rams should be the 4 if the Cowboys jump them, and the Cowboys would be the 3, which means the Bucs would play the Eagles, and the Cowboys and Rams will play the Cardinals and Niners. 49ers Cowboys. So 49ers Cowboys and Rams Cardinals. Those are 2 really good games. Eagles play the Bucs are going to beat them, Jake. That's horrible about Bob Saget if it's true. Hakers, I think I already read that. Wandell Robinson. But, guy, I am starving. I stayed on longer. I used to have fun hanging out with you guys for a bit and winding down, and hopefully you guys appreciate it too, and you guys get to wind down after the season ended. I'll definitely go on a live, maybe even tomorrow. I might, after Gettleman gets fired or retires. I'll probably make a video, and maybe I'll go live tomorrow. I haven't decided yet, in the midday. But I'll definitely go on live throughout the offseason, midday, have a general conversation with you guys, try to get that up and running. I always love doing those midday streams, maybe once a week, once we have, like, relevant stuff to talk about. Tyler, man, thank you very much, man. It's 49ers versus Cowboys. Okay, so 49ers, Cowboys, and then it's going to be Rams and the Cardinals. So those are two great first-round matchups. Great games. The Eagles-Bucks will be a blowout. Let me guess these spreads off the top of my head. Eagles-Bucks, I'm going to go, and I don't know if these spreads have come out yet. Eagles-Bucks, I will go Bucks minus 9.5. Cowboys-Niners, it's in Dallas, but the Niners are hot. They're 7-2 over their last 9. I will go Cowboys favored by 2.5, maybe 3. 2.5 to 3. That's what I think the spread will be. And the Cardinals game, I'll say about the same. I'll say the Rams favored by 2.5. 2.5. I think it'll be about a field goal spread for both those games. But those two should be great games. I'm looking forward. I'll probably call definitely the Cowboys game. But, guys, be good. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for the support. And, yeah, we'll talk soon. Be good, everybody.